I was sitting with Kangas during the last series.
I'm sorry for you.
And I was very sad. And I just want to say sorry to Kangas for being a little sad sack in the corner, because I was expecting that Gen G were going to win, and that means that we've set the stage for some upsets. And let's see whether FlyQuest can do the same thing as we get into the draft here. And the Cassiopeia ban, I absolutely love it. Of course, Quad, a known Cassiopeia enjoyer, and he thought that, you know, his name was Sulker when he was mainly playing it, thought he could hide behind that one. It never is going to escape. So really cool that they do at least ban that one away.
Turns out that coaches do, in fact, do their research. Quad, most recently, he spent a lot of time playing in the North American Challengers League, formerly known as Academy. He had so many good games on that. We haven't necessarily seen it come out all that much in the LCS so far, but this is definitely a player to be watching out for. They recently decided that they were going to have much more success with Quad than with Jensen, and so far, this FlyQuest squad has only dropped anything to Team Liquid.
Well, we'll just have to see how it is going to go. The Rumble ban, obligatory. When that gets through, it tends to win games. And our first Skarner could be coming out here. But no,
us.
I think the Corki would make a fair bit more sense. Tristana up and available as well, as the immediate hover of the Kai'Sa does come in. Interesting. We have seen, of course, incredible amounts of priority on this Corki. Of course, Quad has been one to play a lot of it as well.
Yep.
And I feel like in these first few weeks of the summer season after MSI, every mid laner has played like 3 champions.
Yeah.
And Caps is different.
Yes.
He's played 4.
Oh my gosh, and whole extra champions. That's a 33% increase. The big thing that I was looking at for this tournament was, okay, everybody's gonna be playing Corki. What do people play when they can't play Corki? For Quad, that has almost entirely been the Tristana. He's gotten 4 games on that and only 1 other game on an Aurelion Soul. And so it's not a surprise that this one is coming out right off the bat. And this creates another opportunity for both these squads to really showcase what they want to do relatively early on. Lucio going for this Leona does mean that you have a lot of engage tools that we have seen have so much success earlier, and it really pushes out things like the Nautilus, which has already been banned.
Yep, loving the Anivia hover. We'll see what actually does come through here. There are so many different schools of thought when you have like these 80 mid lanes. I know it's a little bit boring. We're seeing Tristana versus Corki all the time, but it is going to be a little bit of that Freljordian vibe. And we did see into the Leona, the Braum did very, very well. And this is another thing. I was actually thinking that on the other side for FlyQuest, that this Ivern could actually do a fair bit of work, but instead, G2 are going to jump in there and take that one away. The Brand jungle to come out from Inspired, and I feel like this is Inspired's bread and butter, right? He's just been carrying from the jungle all season long.
That said, I'm very surprised that the brand is coming out now, right? Because the brand already has a couple of champions on the other side of G2 that it's going to kind of struggle into. The big one is the fact that Braum has that Unbreakable. You have to be very careful that you do not use the brand ultimate before Braum has used that, because simply you lose so much of the efficacy of that ultimate whenever you try and go for that at the same time. We've also seen what can happen when Ivern is just making sure that all the poke champions are not going to be able to do anything in these fights. It completely shut down what Gen G was trying to do, and I feel as though Inspired will have some opportunities to blow it up. You don't need to have vision if you're just going to be throwing skill shots into brushes, but you do need to see what you're shooting at.
It's very true. However, I do have a counterpoint.
Counterpoint?
Brand is fire, and Ivern's a tree.
That is true. We have been
seeing that's just naturally counterpick, right?
That's a very good point. What about Ice type? I know you're way more up to date on this than I am.
I mean, Fire's pretty good into that as well, as it turns out. And we do have, you know, the very physically accurate representation of that in Pokemon that we've all played. The Kog'Maw and the Ashe both banned away. Of course, Kog'Maw a little bit of Hans Sama flavor. Does mean that there is his most dangerous champion left up and available in the Draven if you would like to pick it, but we'll see exactly what is going to be locked away here. Could be a dangerous option with that Leona already being threatened. The Renekton being banned away here by G2 as well. So Bwipo's pull a little bit thin, but we know that Bwipo plays basically everything. And the Ezreal Leona lane to be considered here for Masu and Busio. Busio, of course, having a little bit of a rougher time this season, but I'm expecting that they should be able to bounce back. It's a great opportunity for a reset here at EWC. And expectations seem to be a little bit of a problem here, as Hans Sama is just going to lock away the Caitlyn.
And the Caitlyn coming through, I really like this. Traditionally, we have seen that Ezreal and Caitlyn tend to be strong at similar times throughout the history of the meta, and this is a great opportunity for Hans Sama to create a lot of pressure. Both these AD carries are very self-sufficient, and both supports very capable of roaming, and we know that Mickey X loves to move out of the lane as early as possible. We also get the Gragas as the last pick coming through for Broken Blade here. A bit of an unsurprising blind pick, right? You get that extra magic damage, you have great tools, you have good disengage, and just as we saw from Top Esports earlier, there's a ton of disengage. There's so much burst if anyone tries to jump in, and Bwipo actually going to be bringing in the first Skarner of the Esports World Cup.
Yeah, I find the Gragas to be really dangerous when you can set up all these brushes. I also love the headshot synergy by being able to create all of these brushes. Just sad that there's no Rengar for the true Ivern synergistic pick, but that you can't have everything, right?
You have everything that you want. It's ultimately not solo queue where you have the Rengar coming through. As fun as that will be, I'm really excited to see how this Skarner is going to be performing. Every team so far has pretty much dropped it entirely. Yeah. It lost a lot of damage. It is mostly just relegated to being a strong tank, but this is kind of a similar thing to what we were seeing in our previous series as well. A lot of damage and a lot of beefcakes coming out for FlyQuest.
Exactly right, and they've got Brand, they've got damage for days, right? Brand, Tristana, and Ezreal, all of them going to do phenomenal work as far as that DPS is concerned. So you can have a few beefcakes there just to augment it. I do really like G2's composition for the way that it synergizes together, though. You know, you create all of these brushes, you set up the Caitlyn firing from exceptionally long range, with then Caps able to throw out those rockets and really provide that poke required. I think G2 Esports have a very, very solid game plan in mind with this composition, and FlyQuest are going to have to do their very best to dismantle that as we get ready to jump onto the Rift here for game number 1.
I think looking at this draft in particular, the player that I kind of want to highlight for FlyQuest that is going to have a difficult time and is going to need to step up is this rookie, Masu. Masu has been a player who we have prided as a new rookie who has kind of been following the footsteps of so many other players, where he has still opportunities to improve the laning phase, but has been so clutch later on in the team fights. But in this one, he's going to be outranged by Cork 3 Rockets. He's going to be outranged by the Caitlyn. He's also going to have to deal with the fact that there's a Gragas and an Ivern constantly preventing him from doing the damage to the targets that he wants to. And there's going to be an opportunity for Masu to showcase that he has what it takes to play on the international stage.
Very much looking forward to it, but let's get onto the Rift here for game number 1. G2 Esports versus FlyQuest. The last chance for an LEC representative to make it to the semi-finals. Team Liquid already there for the LCS. FlyQuest would love to join them, though. We'll see whether it is going to be the first region eliminated from EWC. A lot on the line. Doubled prize money just for winning this.
Just for one.
Doubled prize money. And you also don't have to hand your key over, which we have seen just be devastating.
It's tragic
for everyone. And it's so public. It's right up there on the stage as well. Oh, man, it just looks really, really rough. So I imagine that's what most teams are dreading.
That's one of the big things that you're going to be looking at. And you know that if FlyQuest does win this, they're going to be picking that G2 key to put in their own trophy at the end of everything. Yeah. It's just the kind of rivalry that you will have for years and years. But FlyQuest not going to be able to get anything done. And I love the fact that Yike already walked in just to say, hey, what's going on over here? Is there any opportunity for me to do something a little bit cheeky? No, FlyQuest, you're doing a good job crossing your T's and dotting your I's, but Broken Blade, at least get some vision down so they know where Inspired will be pathing.
Yep. Able to get in there, of course, get a little bit of information. Broken Blade able to get that ward on the Krugs as Caps just doing that Corky into Tristana thing. Now, I haven't seen this matchup for a really long time. Joshi, can you let me know how it got? No, we don't need to worry about it.
We've seen this a little bit. It's
We've seen
new
it
Azir Corky
all the time. Yeah. The new Azir Corky. Oh, God. I'm so worried. Of course, that's another one that Caps is still playing, as we have a bit of biffo here towards the bottom side. Not too much to worry about, as I'm interested to see what FlyQuest can actually get done here. I think you can do a lot as the Ezreal and Leona in this lane. But I think if Hans Sama and Mickey X really start landing these Winter's Bites and the Braum can play aggressively, it can be a little bit dangerous down there with all of the range of a Caitlyn. And of course, control of the lane is what she's all about. See how it does go, because we haven't really seen Caitlyn just yet here at EWC. And it was the last champion that Hans Sama played, so of course, feeling pretty confident.
Yeah. We're already getting a little bit of a scuffle, but I'm mostly just curious to see where this Inspire is going to go. Caps a lot of damage there from one of the new players coming out for FlyQuest. And this is one of the opportunities that Quad does have this matchup, even though it's fairly stable most of the time. If one of these two mid laners does get a big advantage in the laning phase, it can translate to a very different play across the rest of the board. And one of the things that we do know about Quad is he does a lot of damage. We're talking about the Cassiopeia that he was known for before. This is another opportunity for him to just pump out the deeps.
I mean, Cassiopeia is basically an 80 carry that does magic damage, let's be honest.
Yep.
You just press a different button in order to do it. It's okay. Boostio already taking a lot of damage. Yike coming in, and that is going to be first blood already at 3 minutes into the game. Yike going to collect it, and G2 on the board.
Saving grace that it is going to be going over towards the Ivor, not going to be the same kind of damage output, but hey, you can do more damage if you just don't die, and Yike is going to be doing that for the rest of his team, and Inspired not able to build up a CS advantage at all. Now, he's going to have to be worried about where he can even go on the map. He's not going to be able to do his bottom side scuttle crab because of all the pressure that's coming in, but he will be able to at least get it on the top side. And so, with Yike already getting this first gank off, that is a great play coming through for the side of G2, putting some pressure on the bottom lane where we know this is going to be one of the toughest places for FlyQuest to play from.
Yeah, having a look at this replay, just not a whole lot of options here for Boostio, who does try to at least taxi his way out, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to flash at all, but I always love seeing players just hold those. Like, yeah, you know, I could try and do something weird.
Yeah,
Maybe
he was
get an extra
real
flash.
dead.
Very, very dead. It's still going to be a spot where they're going to be pushed in quite a bit, but Yike looking to make another play up on the top side.
This is a very actively ganking Ivern, I tell you that. As Whippo, not a whole lot of mana, does have his flash available, and does have the opportunity to grab that shield as well, so it is a little bit of a dangerous dive, especially with Broken Blade, not with a whole lot of the blue stuff. So it's going to take a drink, see whether they can still set up for it. And you can see Yike pretty keen for this crash to come on in, and Whippo is really keen to just not let those minions approach the turret. As Inspired comes on over, Trigger Seed is going to stun him up. Gives him the good old okay, as one more time, action here towards the bottom side. Not able to stack up that passive. Finally, the concussive blows does come in. As Boostio down to 50%, but it's a lot of damage being offered back here by Marcio. Oh no, Boostio, he'll have to flash this time around, and he at least isn't going to die, but that is a big cooldown. Marcio still staying on that front foot, and I think really saved that play.
Really needs to be very aggressive there. They need to get this wave underneath the turret in order to allow themselves time to back. They know that Yike is on the other side of the map, but he's moving towards the bottom side very quickly. You do not want to get caught here for too long. You can't afford to give Hansama this incredibly long freeze. And Inspired, he will at least spot out Yike, so the bottom lane of FlyQuest knows they have the time, they get in, and at least save will look like a very dire situation.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough. Inspired going to be able to come over and grab this Rift Scuttler though, so is going to stay ahead as far as that farm is concerned. Of course, just an extraordinarily fast jungle clearer versus the Ivern, who is at the mercy of the passive just a little bit there. So it's understandable that the brand is going to be cutting these ones down. Still, Ivern having so much of an impact in this early stage really does not bode so well for the LCS as times go on. As Cap's going to catch this wave as it moves in. Boostio having a little bit of a roam towards our first grubs that are coming down. And this might actually be a little bit of a skirmish. You can see Yike coming up. Quad going to dive in on top of Caps here as well. Does get the Buster Shot out just to try and get some sticky damage. As Winter's Bite not going to find the mark. Mickey X just going to punch a minion in frustration.
Good up there.
Yeah, and here on this top side of the map, Boostio going to be able to grab a stun. Gets the flash out from Yike as well. Definitely not wanting to stick around. It looks like Inspired should be able to grab these grubs. There's the second one as well. Whippo coming down, utilizing that lane control that he's picked up, and that's all three. Can they find a team fight as well? Those rocket jump in. Quad is going crazy, and Caps trying to get himself out of that. Impale very close, but not quite close enough. The strides on Yike able to get him out of there.
A very confused set of battle lines coming out for both sides of the fight. It looked like GT was a little bit more coordinated at first, but FlyQuest just had the damage. They had the clear speed coming out from Inspired to make sure that they get every single one of those grubs. No one ends up dying and all of that, but that's not from a lack of trying. Quad is still looking for more opportunities, and Boostio not able to find any opportunities for him.
I do like a man who executes on Hex flashes a lot, though.
Yes.
And Boostio just coming in, trying to get what he can, and Caps catching waves. You can see it's actually more than a wave in the lead is Quad. It's going to be not quite that, as this wave is going to get cleared up by Caps, but still will have an advantage. And having that lane control going to be important there as well. So shout-outs to the newest addition to FlyQuest. We'll have a look at this fight one more time.
Yeah, we see Quad jumping right on in. Whippo tries to catch Mickey X, and if Mickey doesn't flash her, it's probably lights out. But Whippo also committing the flash to try and find the impale onto anyone, but not going to be finding anything at all. Just both sides just playing on the edge of what is possible. And now Inspired does get spotted out. Is level 6, will do a lot of damage to Broken Blade if he does choose to throw it. But it looks like he's just trying to buy a bit more time for Whippo to re-establish control over the lane state.
Yeah, just going to be getting rid of these minions. And Inspired being frustrating, but otherwise not too much is going to happen there. So just going to get Whippo a decent back timer. And there's a cask, actually, as Whippo's in a bit of trouble. Going to be able to get himself out of there, but I think message received.
Yeah, and Moss is receiving a message on the bottom side as well, as G2 potentially setting up for a dive. Lucio is entirely under tower.
Yeah, decent amount of information here for FlyQuest, but information doesn't mean a whole lot when there's not very many people that can come down and help out. Quad's trying to get down there. We'll just have to see. Minions are going to dissipate. That means FlyQuest have an opportunity now to go back home. And yes, G2 have picked up first blood, but here could be another opportunity for FlyQuest as Caps trying to get himself out of there. The Q going to miss that from Inspired. And the burn is going to come in, and Brand is on the board. 1-1 now as Fly even the score.
I thought for sure that Caps was going to be walking out of that one, but Inspired just gets that little bit of extra damage. The Blackfire Torch or the Ashes just there in order to get that little bit of extra. The fact that Caps only got hit by one instance of the ult from Inspired, I thought that was going to be enough to walk him out, but we're seeing that FlyQuest looking to try and make this happen again and again. They've gone mid lane so many times. We've seen Bucio here twice. We've seen Inspired come a couple of times, and Quad instantly just jumping in and shoving Caps right on over towards his teammate is a fantastic look for them, knowing that you can hold the stun as well to see if you can get Caps into a position where you are going to be hitting the stun anyway. Great play overall from FlyQuest. And
committed to death as well is what it kind of feels like. You know, that was the last instance of damage that we really saw, and that's got to hurt. But I do want to shout out to Caps because he is getting the Faker treatment here in the mid lane. Everyone just piling on in there, realizing that you have to take down the main man. And we'll see whether Caps can get himself back on the horse, because of course it hasn't really affected the CS or anything like that. It hasn't affected too much about how the game state has been, but giving Quad that assist, giving Inspired all of that gold from the kill. He's got his Leandries now picked up, and we know that Brand is nothing if he doesn't do damage. As now Masu in so much trouble, not going to be stepping on the snap trap though. That was so important. If that headshot had to come through, I think he might have just died right there on the spot. Does of course have the barrier available, or just available now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
could have just been taken out.
That would have been a very likely death, but now Inspired coming down towards the bottom side of the map has the flash, and Mickey going for a roam up.
All right, Pillar of Flame going to come through, but Mickey not going to die to it.
I really want to see Inspired go back towards the top side. We have another set of grubs spawning, but Mickey, not out of the woods yet.
No, puts up the door. Masu not going to be killing him with a Mystic Shot or anything like that right now. Looks like it's just going to be a Dragon consideration, as Whippo doing a fair bit of work up here. Last time we checked in, the Gragas was doing a great job, as G2 looking to even the score when it comes to these grubs in response to the first Dragon of the game. And FlyQuest actually with a fair bit of control as far as picking up these neutrals and staying in it as far as the tempo of the game is concerned. I think a lot of that has to do with Quad actually standing his ground beautifully here on this Tristan into Corki in the mid lane. So Yike going to come on over and does clear this one out. Perhaps faster respawn. Will he be able to stop this? And he is.
Stop. Yeah, one of the big things that we've been seeing from Quad is he's always been a very strong laner. He really likes pushing the edge of what is possible, and every time that we have seen him so far, and with the amount of help that FlyQuest has put into him, it's not a big surprise he has a small lead coming out over Caps. The big question will be, what does he actually do with that lead? And I think that picking up this dragon, the fact that it's a Cloud Dragon, will help out quite a bit for the two FlyQuest marksmen that are being played, because there is a lot of damage coming out from the G2 backline. Caps and Hansama have so many tools to be aggressive, and it's all about moving in and trying to find that very small range where you are able to auto-attack and your opponents are not going to be able to. And that becomes so much easier for the FlyQuest backline when they have that bit of extra movement speed.
Yeah, the thing that I'm a little bit worried about for FlyQuest, though, is all of these Ivern compositions really feel like they come online when it's about team fights, when it's about that 5v5 and the setup towards these neutrals. And G2 right now on very even footing, and in fact, in the lead slightly. moving towards the mid game. I think that FlyQuest need to try and make this a little bit more messy. You know, try and get what they can before G2 can set up the phalanx and really start to play the game the way they want. Of course, a very clear identity. Is Quad going to come in? And he was listening. Yeah. Wants to try and get something done.
It definitely feels like a very vegan version of Brand, right? We know that this is a very fast-farming jungler. We know that you are super good at clearing all these camps, but it's not necessarily about being a PvE game. This is the kind of game where you do need to take control because of how strong the composition from G2 will be scaling off into the game, and also how much damage you are going to be losing from the top side with this current version of Skarner having lost a third of the damage on its Q. But FlyQuest still looking for more of these opportunities to, like you said, muddy the waters a little bit, and I'm hoping we'll get to see an opportunity for them to do that around that Herald that's spawning in the mid.
Yep. Quad going to be doing a bit of damage here. Blade of the Ruined King now online. A unique item choice. Haven't really seen that one too much for the Tristana. Allows you to do a little bit more battle, though, as Busio really wishes that that Zenith Blade was a little bit longer, like a Teemo or two, perhaps. As Inspired, going to be stealing from Yikes Basketball Court. Not super great. Not really very fair. But it is still going to be those Raptors taken down, and the Brand doing exactly what it says on the tin. Currently about 30 CS in the lead over Yike, as Quad rocket jumping forward, as he loves to do. Caps grabbing that little shield as Yike going to be moving towards the enemy jungle, which, as we can see, is very barren.
There's nothing there. It's not even a Baron just quite yet.
I know, it hasn't even spawned. It's still quite some time.
That's been a very slow Esports World Cup, I feel like. A lot of these teams playing a very slow style. We know that Gen
Did
Z
you choose not to watch the second series yesterday?
Yeah, that is fair. But this is definitely one right now where G2 Esports are going to be the ones starting off the Herald, and it doesn't look like there's going to be any response whatsoever from FlyQuest. This was the perfect opportunity for them to dirty the waters, get a couple of those kills, get a couple of those opportunities for team fight, but none of that's going to be coming through. And the big thing you always got to ask is when one team gets an objective, what is the other team doing with the time? And unfortunately, G2 seem like they're doing the exact opposite of what Fnatic did against Team Liquid. They are the ones who are getting objectives for free this time around, and they're going to be scaling into a perfect set of games later on. They have the tools to be very aggressive in the side lanes later.
Yeah, speaking of very aggressive, Cap's just going to wander past the minion wave, and Masu is going to have to get the heck out of there. Really just a show of force from the mid laner from G2. FlyQuest not wanting to accept it, though. They will bring everyone up here and look to try and start a fight, but like you say, just a little bit too late, right? The Rift Herald already taken down, and they can use that to try and guarantee themselves this next Dragon, which will even the score as far as that is concerned. I think there's a decent game plan in the early stages from FlyQuest, but they have slowed down on that proactivity, which we want to see a little bit more of. Still, damage potential is absolutely massive out of both teams, to be perfectly honest, especially with the fact that Broken Blade is building more of that AP rather than the full tank Gragas. When I see full tank Gragas, I just get sad, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's all right. Not going to be Bwipo finding that Impale.
Impale is so much slower now than it used to be. You know, the instant was so good, but looking for a Broken Blade.
Yeah, Pillar of Flame coming on through, gets the passive. That is a lot of damage. Like, Brand just does so much damage. It is really silly.
One rotation and one item, Broken Blade taking a ton of damage, and I really want to see that come to fruition. We have another dragon spawning here very shortly. It's an Infernal Dragon, meaning we are not going to get yet another Infernal Soul in this game. Like, we got 4 out of 5 on day one.
I know, it was
Infernal
insane.
Souls. I thought it had something to do with the heat, but I guess it is a little cooler today here in Riyadh than it was before. But now, FlyQuest, they're going to be looking towards the dragon, but G2 on the other side, turns out it takes 2 to tango. You can't just fight yourself.
True. And it's going to be spawning now. We have the Rift Herald spawning in the river, just back where she belongs. It's actually really cute. And she's going to run from home and try to take down this outer turret. That should be a thing, but FlyQuest are going to be able to trade it for this dragon. And the extra gold for G2, I think they're going to be very, very happy with, right? Being able to build up a bit of tempo here at this stage feels great for the composition that just wants to scale later. Of course, Caitlyn, 3 items is really what you want to get to, of course. With the item changes, I feel like Collector IE feels like a good 2-item spike, but you kind of want a little bit more than that. And the Power Trough will definitely be in there. Of course, bridged by Caps, who's just completed the Trinity Force.
We'll see how much that actually means for these two teams, right? If you're not fighting, it doesn't exactly matter what items you're on, and this is going to be one of the things that we have seen sometimes FlyQuest struggle with a little bit. They're not necessarily the team that is playing around the side lanes nearly as much as a lot of other teams. They haven't necessarily been opting into as many hands checks as teams like Team Liquid have, and now G2, I mean, they're the ones who are actually creating pressure in this side of the map. They have the very strong core key, but they don't know how many FlyQuest members are actually here.
Yeah, there is a sneaky little Mario, and there he comes. Quad diving on out. Cap's taking a lot of damage, and there is the Tristana sec. Quad gonna be able to lock down that kill there as well. 1-0-1 for the Tristana. As Broken Blade, he was actually trying to go for a counter play off the back end with the teleport, and unfortunately lost his mid laner a little bit too fast. Masu in this mid lane, trying to deal with G2, looking to make a cross map. And it might still be possible. The slow not actually going to land on a Mickey X, though, as he finds the Glacial Fissure. And FlyQuest kind of thought they had an opportunity, but Inspire goes down before he can really do anything at all. And now G2 are trying to dive on in. The Impale is decent, but the Body Slam is better. And now the teleport's coming in once again. Quad finally in the battle as Whippo diving for Barrage, cuts them all down, and they don't even need the brand to do the AoE because Quad and Master are going bananas here in the mid lane. Cap's finally respawning though, and can he do enough to try and get this one back as Yike is there to support him? What a bloodbath. It was so incredibly slow until everything happened.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're looking at. That was the dirtying of the waters we've been looking for from FlyQuest for such a long time, but now Caps, he's got so much strength. He's got Yike right behind him, and will look like a fantastic series of plays.
Again. Yeah, Quad diving on forward. Yike able to keep him shielded up, and Caps is just fine. And so G2 able to really stand their ground, even though they lose Caps towards the top side. I think because Quad took so long to get there, it was a bit of a disaster as we check out the replay.
Yeah, Inspire being pushed away from this fight almost immediately and dying. Yes, he gets the ult off, but 2 or 3 of those bounces end up hitting Daisy and minions. They don't do what they need to. And then, like you said, it's all about the Body Slam and the Impale. Broken Blade and G2 now on the run, and Quad coming through. Whippo flashing forward. Just needs to get that little bit of damage under the True Shot Barrage, goes across, hits the entire team. I'm a little bit surprised Quad did not live up to his name and get even more kills off of that one, but Caps still ends up making an even fight, and that means we got 2 minutes left until the Ocean Dragon is going to be spawning, and that's kind of where I'm expecting FlyQuest to take another opportunity for a fight.
Well, Whippo, he's going to be driving towards Caps here, does get the Valkyrie out as there's the Solar Flare, stuns up the Corki. There's not a lot of damage, but I guess there is enough as Whippo locks it down. Masu able to dodge the Winter's Bite there as well as he just throws it all into the door. You love to see it, just break it down. If it's in front of you, hit it, and he's going to do so. FlyQuest really not giving up at all in this mid-game. They're putting on so much pressure. And Inspired, the more they're doing this, the more dangerous he gets. Look at this brand damage. It is absolutely ridiculous. True Shot Barrage doesn't quite find the mark, though, as Quad just shooting against Broken Blade. Yeah, over and over again. They're just not quite able to answer. As Quad, he's going to say, yeah, you're going to push me away, I'll jump forward. Is now just looking for Broken Blade here. Redemption going to be able to keep him up, and the threat of having an extra person up there means that he doesn't overextend. I kind of felt like Quad could have killed him, but maybe he's just being merciful. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing. You got to show some mercy when you're starting to just win across the board. We're seeing that Whippo with that plate on the bottom side, Quad with jumping onto Broken Blade on the top side just means that the side lanes are suddenly going very well for FlyQuest. We also have the Thimble Winter being completed here for Whippo, which is a massive durability increase. That's coming in at exactly the right time. 30 seconds until this Ocean Dragon. I know Ocean Soul isn't the most exciting soul of all time, but if you're playing up against a composition like G2s that love taking these slow fights with the Ivern, Ocean Soul is going to be one of the best you could ask for.
Absolutely. 2 items now completed here for Quad as well. He's feeling extremely strong. Masu just completes the Muramana as well. That is a gigantic spike for this Ezreal that was already playing so aggressively here in these fights. Looking forward to seeing what more he can actually do here as Santa Claus is going to be teleporting his way into the mid lane and immediately picks up a True Shot Barrage. I think that earns you a spot on the naughty list there, Masu. As now Whippo getting pushed away from the Banana Brush, but they still do have that ward in there. In fact, everyone with vision available. Quad moving on up, and with all of these extra brushes, it is A dangerous time here for G2. They're trying to set themselves up, though. They've got their brushes down. As Mickey X moving forward, the Impale is going to pull him out. That is going to be the Dragon picked up by G2, but can they keep themselves alive as the redemption comes through? But it's a little too late, and they lose their support. Mickey's on the floor, and FlyQuest, yes, they lose the Dragon. They don't get to that soul point, but still feeling really good about how these fights are going.
We're seeing that G2 not able to do the same thing that top esports are doing with just pushing their opponents around. They end up getting the Dragon, but because they end up taking so much damage on their way in, it's not going to be giving them the same kind of team fight advantages as we saw from top esports earlier. And FlyQuest right now is taking a look at this. They come in from a lot of different angles, and it didn't seem as though either team was ready to full commit for the fight. I was wondering what Whipple was going to do, but he ends up just grabbing one player. He grabs Mickey, they are able to kill him, but it still takes them so long to take them down because there's not a whole lot of other follow-up after that. Busio not able to find a big solar flare to allow FlyQuest to
hit two people with that solar flare. It was actually so sick in that fight.
But they're just too far.
Yeah, no, and not able to get any more. But, like, I mean, you'll take that, right? Being able to get that kill and being able to get control back of the map. I feel like this is not the FlyQuest I was expecting. I was expecting G2 to come out with a creative draft and then really just kind of go Harlem Globetrotters. That is not what's happening here. And FlyQuest really able to hold their own. Yeah. As I say that, of course, Masu takes a headshot to the face, and as headshots generally do get aimed. And that is looking dangerous. And that is that 2-item spike that we were talking about. One thing that we need to mention is the fact that FlyQuest really had an advantage. Oh, never mind. Masu tries to get out, and he's not going to be able to. The shutdown comes through. Inspired has to flash, and the outer turret is going to be taken. And in an instant, G2 just say, no, we have the control. Never you mind.
We got surprised about that just the same way that Masu did. I had no idea that Broken Blade was there. They get the kill. I was just about to launch into tirade talking about how well Masu was actually playing all these fights, getting those 3 kills. When Broken Blade shuts him down, they find a bunch of kills. They find some more going over on top.
Speaking of which, finds the double body slam. Quad able to get himself out of there, but the door is in position, and the flank angle from Caps is crazy. Still decent position for Quad, but they find him. Body slam comes through once again, and the shutdown comes in from the mid laner from G2. Whippo's out of there. There's the double kill for Caps, and all of a sudden, everything's on fire.
And the flanks from Broken Blade are going crazy. That's another opportunity to get everything coming through. G2 have such a good understanding of how to get these fights started from multiple angles, and now Masu is still coming around to see if he can try and poke people off, but he's got to deal with so much. There's a mid lane turret that they could potentially get, but G2 taking the fights that we saw earlier, turning them on their head. Now they're going to be getting the Baron. Now they're going to be taking control of the map, and this might be the Harlem Globetrotting that we were looking at.
Yeah, this is a huge swing for G2. They are going to be able to take this one down. The Baron will be taken with 0 casualties here, as well as that ward will be taken down. FlyQuest not able to find anything, I don't think, off the back end of this one. The Empowered Recall is going to be helping out, and at least they do manage to get this out of turret. Okay, Whippo is taking matters into his own hands, but I don't know whether it's a great idea. Knocked up by the Glacial Fissure and then knocked down by Hans Sama. So maybe a little bit of a miscommunication there.
Yeah.
Stopping the backs to make sure that at least the outer turret goes down in mid or something like that. So we're going to check out this fight one more time.
Broken Blade is coming over from a wall, and Caps coming from the backside. I love the fact that Caps takes the ultimate from Inspired and then uses the Valkyrie to make sure it doesn't get multiple bounces that could have taken down the Corki relatively quickly, but immediately FlyQuest is already routed. Inspired just had to turn around. Now they're looking for Broken Blade.
Yeah, that's a party cask there, as Broken Blade should be going down here. Quad able to lock that one up and had the explosive charge there. So FlyQuest able to get something back, and that might stop that Red Bull Brown power play, or the lack thereof, from being picked up here. So 1,000 gold is not as much as what you get just from killing it.
Yeah, that is a very big pick coming through for FlyQuest. Hopefully they can see if they can do even more of that. They do have a man advantage. Whippo does have the teleport, but that seems to have been the thing that G2 was doing so well before. When I saw Whippo running into 4 members there, it's like, yeah, I know you've been looking to be as wide as possible. You are a very big tank on this one, but unfortunately doesn't have the same kind of damage as we were looking at before. 30 seconds left, though, before we get another Dragon. And now FlyQuest, yeah, I mean, Broken Blade, just wrong place, wrong time. Cass not going to take anything. Going to be sharing some gold and a bunch of members. And FlyQuest, easy money.
Yeah. not exactly psyched about it is Broken Blade, but still with a fair bit of extra money. And as you can see, able to take down this outer turret towards the bottom side of the map. FlyQuest, let's see what they can actually do, because they've got Quad in the mid lane, getting some work done. Whippo in the top side. And this Baron buff is being used to take down one turret with all 4 members that are here. Gragas moving towards the mid lane to try and stop Quad. But if FlyQuest are able to get more, then it should be okay. But if they lose an inhibitor, it's probably not.
Interesting.
So we're going to be trading for the Dragon, and FlyQuest, your base is now exposed.
Yeah.
So 1 inhibitor, not end of the world, I guess. But if they lose a Nexus turret, it's really, really bad.
Here comes the teleports coming through from FlyQuest. They will get the Ocean Soul point, but they're not going to be finding a fight here at all. They do end up defending their Nexus turrets, but feels like a very brinksmanship kind of way of playing League of Legends. We'll do everything else. We get exactly what we came for, but losing an inhibitor feels like a much larger price, especially because they didn't get either the inner turrets in the mid lane or the top lane. FlyQuest, though.
Solar Flare going to connect onto the Ivern. Not exactly the greatest of prizes, but they'll take whatever they can get at this point in time. Quad on a flank angle, but Caps is right there to try and get him out. The Glacial Fissure is going to connect only onto Whippo, who's happy to tank it, and Quad cut down to half health, but still able to get that disengage. And the Baron wears off, and in the end, did actually net G2 a whole bunch of gold. And so, moving back towards this mid lane with a whole bunch of extra control, G2 in the driver's seat.
G2 in the driver's seat. We also saw that FlyQuest, one of the big things that I was looking at before is the difficulty that we were going to see Inspired have actually piloting this brand, because Braum is always there, because Ivern is always there. So much of the brand damage is mitigated. We actually saw that the ultimate from Inspired did go directly into the Unbreakable and would have gotten so much damage across all of those grouped up G2 members, but not going to be able to do that at all. Instead, we're going to have to be looking at the next couple of objectives here, Alice. 2 minutes next until the Baron buff will be spawning. 3 minutes until the Ocean Soul will be spawning. G2, they have a pretty big gold lead, but it's not going to be enough because, or it's not going to necessarily be enough to push them over the edge just quite yet. It's going to mostly depend on whether or not they can find another good flank from Broken Blade.
Yeah, the thing that I'm worried about, though, for FlyQuest is the fact that as soon as G2 has control of the map, this Ivern can get to work, right? You can set up all of these brushes, you can make Hans Sama have all of these positions to place down the traps, and if it's you that are setting up for this Baron that's going to be spawning in a minute and a half, they not only have so much damage for it, but they can also set up so many traps to stop FlyQuest from being able to get on in. So I'm a little bit worried, and hopefully FlyQuest have a plan to trying to combat that, because they're the ones with the soul point. They theoretically have a slight tempo advantage when it comes to the neutrals. It's just getting themselves into a position to utilize it that is important.
One of the things I do find very fascinating is that Masu often go for the Spear of Shojin here as his third item, as opposed to a Bloodthirster, which has been becoming much more popular, especially in these kind of games where you are going to be outranged by the Caitlyn, outranged by the Corki Rockets, and you really have to be very careful about your positioning. You get a lot more freedom when you just have that little bit of extra lifesteal to keep yourself topped off. Now, FlyQuest is saying that, Masu, we believe in you. You are going to be doing all the damage that we need you to, but it also means he has to be very careful with his positioning. He does have all the summoners up, and with 40 seconds left until the Baron, we have not yet seen G2 set up. They do not have Ivern in those positions that we were talking about, where they would just get all the vision control they could imagine.
Well, they're going to be setting up for it now. 30 seconds on this Baron. It's a little bit dark up there, as we can see. Mikiak slightly separated, and Whippo on a beautiful flank angle. Solar Flare going to immediately be cleansed, but that is now on cooldown. Oh, the Impale goes absolutely nowhere, and the door is fantastic. Whippo having to flash away as Caps back into the fight one more time. True Shot Barrage doing deadly damage, actually. As FlyQuest, they slink back into the fog of war, and they have control of the river for now, with Broken Blade at least very, very healthy moving up this mid lane. And they have to protect their base. I don't think they can give away 2 inhibitors in trade for a neutral, Joshi. I just don't think that is the right play.
This is definitely the spot where we see FlyQuest. They are trying to get every single one. They do end up getting the red buff, but they're going to be giving a mid lane turret for it.
Well, Quad is now back, so maybe FlyQuest are happy to fight as Inspired, looking to try and set up. Great Cask is going to connect, but Inspired flashes away. True Shot Barrage finds Hans Sama on that backline, but he's very safe. Masu, though, he gets on in there. Hans Sama is in so much trouble, but he survived. Oh, there it is. It's Whippo that locks it down, and FlyQuest are finding the team fight they've been looking for. Yike now getting chased down by the lawnmower, and we'll have to flash to get on over. He escapes, but could this be FlyQuest now setting up for a Baron themselves? Or do they have to go back and protect their base? Or are they going to try and win the game? There are a lot of different options here.
They're trying to everything. They're looking for Caps on the top side right now. Cap's going to be blowing up, and he's going to be away from the base defense. It's only
so much time, but Quad is at least able to take down the inhibitor in the mid lane, and that is a staggering of the backs there as well, with Caps going down so late.
And with the Baron buff and the Ocean Soul all spawning at the same time, FlyQuest have so many options they can go for. They are going to be choosing to go for the Baron first. Whipple comes over the wall. They do got to send somebody back. They can't afford to lose another Nexus turret. But FlyQuest finds such a huge fight, and Mazu's going to get himself out.
Yeah, okay, that was a little bit scary for a second there. And then it was an Ivern and a Braum. So we weren't going to see a death or anything like that, as the Baron will be taken down. The Ocean Drake is up and available. Now, FlyQuest don't necessarily need to care too much about it, right? Because it's only giving away a second Ocean Drake to G2. I think the Baron, very important. And also, having the minions not destroy your Nexus is also somewhat important if they do want to win this game.
Yeah, a little bit surprised though. I feel as though they could have gotten both of those things with Cap still dead. True Shot Barrage not going to be getting the Miracle Steal, but you have to be very happy as an NA fan. I'm very happy as an NA fan, as FlyQuest already looking to potentially get another upset on the day. The first game looking to be in their control for now. They just opened up the mid lane inhibitor for G2. They have a number of inner turrets that they are able to go for as well. And Quad and Mazu, they've been having fantastic positioning in every single one of these team fights so far. They're creating so much space, and as we saw, as soon as they were able to free fire into Mickey X, he went down very quickly. The rest of the fight ends up going completely their way. We'll take another look at this, and the big thing here is watch how Mazu and Quad, they're creating an opportunity to try and start shooting, but it takes them a long time to actually get their damage in. And finally, when Hansama starts having to deal with the rest of the FlyQuest team, that's when they make their move. They come and they get the damage down, and then they're able to chase Ike and Caps.
We got another team fight, another Impale going wide there as the Glacial Fissure somehow avoided. That was Narrow Whippo right there.
Narrow Whippo.
Kind of thought that, I don't know, I guess he shrunk the hitbox. A man that has that much control of his size, I guess, is just able to do so. And he's able to just lawnmower his way out of there. G2 now with Daisy by their side as well. An unfair 6 versus 5 at this point. FlyQuest, 2,000 gold on the Baron buff as well. So looking pretty good. Yeah, also having a bit of a lead, which is not something I'd be expecting. It wasn't on my bingo card for game 1 of G2 versus FlyQuest here at 35 minutes.
However, all that said, they only were able to get the top lane inner turret. It's not going to be the biggest win coming off of this Baron buff, but now they still have about a minute left. They're grouping up. They have Inspired down in the bottom side to make sure they can push that out, but this is an opportunity potentially for G2 to go for a 5v4 before Inspired can actually rejoin them. They know exactly where he is. They know he's not there, and FlyQuest not able to get enough of a push going off with that. And so it is a Baron buff win. They do have a small lead, but it looks like we're going to be spending a little bit more time thinking about how this Ocean Soul is going to be going in 3 minutes.
Exactly. Setup right now has Whippo on this slight flank angle. Mazu and Inspired looking a little bit delicious in the mid lane, but I assume G2 understands that there is something up. Busia off on the side. Going to be able to find anything here. So this control ward just going to be taken down, and G2 looking to get control of the top side of the river. And Baron control certainly going to be there with control wards aplenty. Now just making sure that they can have the Ivern positioning. Just put Hansama in a brush, make something happen, and look at that damage. As Hansama gets more and more items, that's 4 now completed. It's going to be very, very difficult. FlyQuest is going to have to make sure that this Caitlyn has a whole lot of trouble doing damage. As Broken Blade getting chunked. Remember, this is not a tanky Greg. This is got a cosmic drive. As, yeah, Quad is just playing the PvE game here on the bottom side of the map. Inner turret will be taken down, and G2, I think they're going to have to start protecting their base. There's the teleport to come on through as True Shot Barrage not going to be stopping that one anytime soon. Still, Caps gets back. He'll thin out that wave, but it buys so much space here for FlyQuest to play with.
Really good stuff coming out from FlyQuest. You saw that Inspired and Mazu over the wall, just doing the damage necessary to dissuade Broken Blade from any kind of play whatsoever. That stops the push entirely from G2, and because Quad down there in the bottom lane the entire time just gets a free turret, that's 700 gold, that's 2 kills that effectively go into Quad's pocket right there, and we're very rapidly approaching full builds for multiple members. Caps already has 4+ boots, and then another half on top of it. Hansama in exactly the same position. Mazu very close behind, and Quad, I mean, as soon as an opportunity to back away and spend all this gold, we're going to be getting every single one of our marksmen on 4.5 items, which means that these fights are going to be incredibly bloody.
Oh, yeah. I feel like there is a... It's actually completely... I was about to say, with Broken Blade building damage, they'll have more, but they've got an Ivan in the jungle, and there is a Brand on the other side. So, as far as damage is concerned, there is a whole lot coming out of everyone on both sides. And we'll just have to see who's going to be able to find the team fight they're looking for. It could be over in the blink of an eye if a few of these headshots do land, as Guipo keeps that health bar high. Ace in the hole. Oh, Masu did not want to tank that one. Thankfully, he does have that Bloodthirster now completed, so can get a bit of that health bar back. But you can see pushing them out. And Mickey X finds the Glacial Fissure, puts up the door as the Impale comes in. Solar Flare is fantastic. And Mickey is just cut down, and now FlyQuest are flashing forward the explosion. As Quad is going to be taken down on the back end, but they'll trade that for Caps. And Masu is still up. Hansama is surrounded, finds the net. It was decent, but they didn't kill the Ezreal. A triple kill for the young man from FlyQuest. And they might just walk down the mid lane and win game one.
And Masu, the rookie, like you said, coming up huge. We said that he was going to have trouble trying to navigate his way in this game, and he is doing it magnificently. 7-1-5 coming out for the young rookie, and FlyQuest are going to be getting the first game over G2. This is not the way I think anybody was expecting today to go. We already got 2 games from Top Esports, and FlyQuest now in pole position to try and knock EU out of the tournament.
And someone's got to check the time zones or something like that, because Orcs yesterday said that it was no longer going to be the 4th of July, but I'm sensing the freedom as FlyQuest destroy the Nexus here in game one. Oh man, EWC definitely getting real spicy, but it's time for us to throw it to a short break. When we get back, the gentlemen at the studio are going to try and break that one down.
Adventures bring new challenges. Even as the heat rises, dandruff and grease won't stand a chance. With new Clear Men, powered by triple formula technology. To eliminate dandruff, itch and grease, gives you 8 hours of freshness and 100% dandruff-free hair. New Clear Men, 0% dandruff, 100% confidence.
Ivern aficionados that live in Korea and maybe possibly in penthouses are currently in shambles as it does not get it done. A huge upset here at EWC happens. FlyQuest getting the win over G2. Crazy stuff. As yeah, this was also the other upset that was happening with Top Esports over Gen
They're just here to
G.
give us LCK representatives a little grief.
Because these guys
when
did
this
bleed.
happened earlier, I'm like, I've been trying to forget, but congrats to Top Esports, of course. Big upset here in our first game. I think Quad, Inspired, playing together incredibly well through the early game. This Tristana was winning lane. They used it as a pressure point, excuse me. They went for Blade of the Ruin King on this build, something that Ox and I really liked. Really unique style and really gave them a big edge going into the early mid game.
Yeah, I think a big thing as well is we've seen these Ivern compositions work really effectively when they group together. It's like a death ball, they're all masked up. And actually the value that a brand gets in those situations, like in the team fights, you throw the ult in, there's so many targets to bounce between who are clumped together. On top of the Daisy, who's just another well, not even a champion, another target that can bounce from to get those passive stacks, to get the AoE coming down. And let's be honest, this game was pretty back and forth when we got into it, but I feel like the team fighting from FlyQuest at the end to clutch it was massive.
Yeah, and I think a huge part of that is the big move that they made in the mid lane. Again, last time over at MSI, the international appearance that FlyQuest had, it was Jensen in the mid lane. They make the move to Quad. He gets the Tristana, and he looked solid early on. And based on this build that he had, was willing to be the guy, willing to be in the face of the Western GOAT in caps and deal the damage here.
I mean, a point Ox made, when we were watching the game is the Blade of the Ruin King great when everyone's full health and you have that double shields. This is another great gank here from Inspired, set up by Quad, pushes him back. Caps ends up unfortunately dying here to that extra burn earn damage plus the Comet. They make the same play topside here. Again, looking for the pick onto Caps. Quad jumps forward. Caps not respecting the ult. He gets Buster shot back and taken out. Two great proactive plays. Quad's lead was pretty small, pretty incremental, but it started to snowball from here.
And I love the aggression and the willingness to push those advantages. I feel like so many times we've seen NA teams match up against G2 and they lose just because Caps diffs the mid laner. And I feel like I love that they knew this was a point they want to put focus towards. And really, even though it didn't get a ton of momentum, as you said at first, those little advantages really start to build up.
Yeah, so it kept them in the game there, especially given the fact that the other lanes, not so good. Then we have this fight in the mid lane. It was scrappy going the way of G2.
Yeah, and you see here, G2 very clumped together. They do find that nice burst onto Inspired, but they just end up overcommitting. They could have been happy with that pick, but this double impale next to the tower gets so much value. And it's at this point, they're like, okay, we can turn this. We can bring the Tristana in and start to look for those resets.
So Quad has the gold, right? He has the tools to actually follow up on this play. It's reset city when everyone gets this insanely low. Yank is able to get out with his life, but otherwise a pretty big overextension. Bit of a disaster for G2 until Caps decides to flank his way back in here. So they saved the play a little bit, but it was very back and forth. At this moment, you were like, okay, we know where the gold is on the side of FlyQuest. It's on this Tristana. The Ezreal is scaling. And at that point in time, if Caps doesn't turn that one around, FlyQuest might have just had an unbeatable lead.
Yeah, but then from there, you expect the fight back. We've seen it every match here so far, except maybe the last match from Gen G, but they still did a good job. It was the TP play here. In the mid game, the team that's behind always finds an angle.
Yeah, and I feel like when you see a play like this from a Corki, you expect the package, but that's no longer the case. It doesn't stop Caps, though. He comes in, gets so much burst damage onto the backline of FlyQuest, and understandably, they try and commit to take the Corki down, but by trying to aggress on him, the rest of G2 move in, and it ends up backfiring massively. So really pull that play out of nowhere. This is kind of why we give so much respect to Caps.
Yeah, just a lot of escape, right? On this Corki, you have the Valkyrie, he had Flash. So I think it's a relatively dangerous teleport if you're looking from the outside looking in, thinking about how easily this Corki could be collapsed on. Very squishy target, right? But he knows he has the angle. The team trusts his teleport flank. The timing of the re-engage is really clean. He gets out, becomes this kind of dummy target, this taunt Corki. and he's able to win the fight as a result.
And from there, we don't have as much time to show all the highlights, but from there, we had some craziness with like G2 taking the bot lane tower into the inhib, and then it gets really, really close to where FlyQuest gets this final fight. It's huge scaling from Brand. Look at this flash forward by Inspired.
And I love the decision to focus down the Braum, you know, as the Unbreakable's timing out, using the Skarner ult. They have so much tank shred between this composition. And the thing with an Ivern composition is getting people low, you know, isn't too much of an issue. You can shield them, keep them healthy, but if you start taking out targets, the death ball really starts to fall apart, especially when it is that Braum who provides so much safety, and they really just ran through them on that fight.
I mean, quick little thoughts as well on that type of engage, going into that choke point, into the Skarner. It's a similar type of overextension to what we saw happen in mid lane, where we did see FlyQuest take that lead. They could have tried to fan out, set up some brushes, slow play that. I feel like G2 was getting super impatient in this moment, where they didn't really need to hard force.
Yeah, again, just kind of confusing to see, like the macro play that happened throughout that game. Unique to see FlyQuest be able to hang in there from a micro perspective. Within the lane, you saw the scraps early on. You got to see the TP plays from G2, but they didn't close it on out. It allowed this composition for FlyQuest to scale, have big damage. 30 seconds before we go to break. What do you think?
I mean, I just think it's crazy the upsets we've had today. I was going in today thinking that it was going to be 2 matchups. I had a very good idea where the outcome's going to come. Series 1 went to top esports. Series 2 in FlyQuest's favor. They just need to continue this momentum.
Wolf?
I mean, look, I think that this is a huge momentum swing. This is what I was saying earlier. You win game 1 as FlyQuest. You take that one upset. Momentum's in your favor. Pressure's on G2. Carry that forward. Maybe you get the upset.
Again, G2 have been so dang dominant in international play, especially against the West, including in their domestic league, but now have their backs against the wall here at EWC. How will it pan out? We'll find out after this short break.
Breaking news from the BR stage. Today is the last group stage for the Call of Duty Warzone competition, where 7 teams out of the 14 will be eliminated. Tomorrow will be the finals, and with the current standings, Team Falcons is in the lead. Of course, we also have Fnatic, who is currently ranked 2nd, and also ranked 3rd in the club championship, although they were defeated in the League of Legends tournament yesterday by Team Liquid. Let's see what happens next.
Turn up this up right now. I like this up right now. You might be stuck right now. This might loosen me up right, up right, up right, up right, up right now. Get off this bus right now. You're acting sus right now. This one. Turn up this up right now. I like this up right now. You might be stuck right now. This might loosen me up right, up right, up right, up right, up right now. Get off this bus right now. You're acting sus right now. This one. I know what you want. I know what you need. Some seeds, grow some trees. Ain't no smoke that's made for lungs, but you believe. But it's okay, we make mistakes, be relieved. So why art doubting? They're not like me, my eyebrows too intense. I rock out like the Brahma. I wanted to be like Dwayne Johnson. Teacher said I'm trouble. Once I clocked my dreams won't work, I started snapping, I bust bubbles. I think it's how creators see. Other creators be perceived as fly. You're whipping right, but off IG, you're broken cheap. I need an electric bike to vend this food, to vend these rules. Get these tools, cause haters drool, they're watching me. Haters discretion advised. Oh me, oh my, I just want to survive in the sea under darkness, hiding from the light. All we do is push violence, pain over violence, radio silence. Turn up this up right now. I like this up right now. You might be stuck right now. This might loosen me up right, up right, up right, up right, up right now. Get off this bus right now. You're acting sus right now. This one. Turn up this up right now. I like this up right now. You might be stuck
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for possibly the final game of the day.
Where'd you say that?
That'd be nuts. That'd be absolutely crazy. G2 with an opportunity to bounce back here up against FlyQuest, who really did just run the rift in that last one. We'll see what they're going to be able to do in order to mitigate it. You can see the brand already taken away, the Leona also removed. I feel like Leona is really starting to step up as a really big pick this tournament thus far, and they are going to address it. There is also the LeBlanc ban, which is somewhat curious here on the FlyQuest side of things, and Zyra going to be taken away as well.
It definitely looks to me as though they are trying to protect something that Quad is looking to play, because the LeBlanc is not a champion that we've been seeing at all this tournament, or even all that much during the spring split in pretty much any region whatsoever. But it does look as though G2 is trying to rectify a lot of the mistakes they were making in the first game. The brand's off the table, Zyra's off the table. They're trying to take away a lot of the magic damage jugglers that Inspired has had such a strong spring split on.
And there is the Rumble being let through. I think that this is always extremely dangerous. If anyone tries to do so, we've seen Rumble be so incredibly powerful so far at EWC. So it is a bit of a gamble being taken here by FlyQuest. We'll see what they answer with.
We saw in our previous series as well that it felt as though Gen G was doing fine in almost every single one of their fights going up against top esports until the equalizer hit. And it's like, oh, yeah, that is a lot of damage coming through all at once. But at the same time, with no Leona available, they are going to be going over towards the Nautilus. And the big thing here is this, I think, is the longest in any of our drafts that Corki has not gotten picked.
Oh, and maybe FlyQuest aren't even going to pick it, as they're at least hovering for now the Cassiopeia, but instead it's going to be the Corki. Surprising to me that Quad didn't decide to go towards the Tristana. I think he did very, very well in the matchup. I assume that Caps would probably be keen to go towards it anyway, so somewhat surprising, but we'll see what the answer is going to be here, as Vi Rumble is utterly terrifying, and that's going to be Tristana locked in as well for Caps. We saw the way that he utilized buffers at MSI. We'll see whether he can do so again.
Oh, true.
Here at EWC, he is an extremely talented Tristana player.
That's the kind of thing where every single time we saw a buffer, it's like, that looks like the kind of guy who just went to practice tool and was like, hey, let me practice this with you. Can you press crowd control on me over and over again? And Caps was figured out exactly how to dodge out of almost everything. This composition that we're seeing already coming out from G2 looks incredibly terrifying, because a little bit different than what we were seeing in the previous game, it looks incredibly proactive. Every single one of these players can already do something to get a fight started, especially if you start going towards these choke points.
True. I really like the Ziggs ban, though. We've seen Ziggs' superiority, and our boy Orcs really does like to talk about Ziggs when it's winning, so we're going to see it banned away this time. So, Daniel, please, no more bus rides with only conversations about Ziggs, if you do not mind. Ban to come through from G2. We'll see where they're going to be targeting here. I imagine the jungle could be somewhere they continue to look to make sure Inspired doesn't have full comfort, as there is the Nidalee taken away.
You really have to start looking at this composition from the rest of FlyQuest and say, they already have two of the marksmen. What else do we pair with marksmen? It is almost always magic damage junglers, and this is the third one that's taken off the table. There is still the Karthus available, but it is worth noting that Taliyah did take a pretty significant nerf in the jungle specifically, which is why we've only seen it in the mid lane coming up from APA so far. But I would not be surprised if this is just another magic damage jungler ban coming up from the side of G2 to force maybe some magic damage to come out from the top side of the map, which has traditionally pretty much been only Rumble.
True. I mean, the Karthus is the thing that really comes to mind. Of course, Inspired playing a bunch of games of that so far in the LCS. So if they want to get rid of every single AP jungler option, if we assume that the Taliyah is taken away, and there it is, going to be that Karthus ban. So how deep are we going to go? Of course, Lilia up and available, I guess. You could try to just play the Taliyah and hope. Certainly, a lot of junglers available, but maybe not the top tier ones. Yeah. So where are they going to sit? As so far, Anudia being considered.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the Lilia a little bit more right now, because in general, Lilia does not like two things. One of them is point-and-click crowd control, which is Vi, and strong auto-attackers, which is the Tristana. And, ooh, you really are going to be struggling to try and play a Lilia into a Draven Tristana Vi composition, which looks to me as though this Udyr is way more likely to be building up a little bit more magic damage. We have been seeing Udyr start going for the Leandries as a first item relatively commonly at this point, so a little bit less burden put onto Inspire to try and bring that magic damage from the jungle, but it could also be, we have seen Udyr very many times being played as a jungler in the past.
Well, the Varus is going to be locked in. I feel like, we've seen one other Varus, but not in the bottom lane so far here at EWC. So looking forward to seeing what Hans Sommer is going to be able to do on that champion, assuming he's going to be playing it. As Mickey X, what are we locking in? It looks like it's going to be the Rel for that bottom side. They needed a little bit more engage and a bit more AoE as well, as Vi does like to just go in on a single target. So that is going to be a G2 composition. I feel a lot more cohesive and a lot more aggressive. I think we heard Wolf talking about the fact that G2 were playing pretty impatiently. I think with a composition like this, if you're playing impatiently, you're doing it right.
Exactly. You're going to be looking to be very aggressive, and it's going to be on FlyQuest to try and play a triple marksman style composition that is going to be kiting back. They do have a couple of good tools, but instead of going towards that extra marksman, it looks like they are going to instead try and bring out the Maokai. It's champion, I'll be honest, I had kind of forgotten about just because it had moved down so many tiers in terms of how much damage it was doing, but you can still build Leandres, you can still build the Blackfire Torch, you can still do a lot of damage with this, and it creates a very strong backline coming out for FlyQuest. It's not going to be doing the same kind of upfront and just raw damage that we're oftentimes seeing from the Tristana and the Varus, but Corki is not going to be something you can shake and stick at, and Senna will constantly keep your frontline alive.
It's true. I mean, I feel like in the last game, we had a firepower, we reached firepower parity, right, between the two squads. In this game, I feel like G2 has about 4 times as much that FlyQuest has. Yes, they have a fair bit of durability, but they're going to have to really make sure that they lock in on their target selection and get rid of these incredibly high damage threats on the side of G2 if they're going to stand a chance in these team fights. Or, you know, wait until Senna has 1,000 stacks.
Yeah, the flip side of that is G2 really only has one player that they need to target, and it is Quad. We saw that Quad was getting the better of Caps with a little bit of help from his friends, but nonetheless, Quad did so much damage last game, and now he's going to be the primary damage dealer also coming out for FlyQuest. It says to me, Yike, go mid lane, pitch your tent. It's going to be a great time to shut him down, and we could potentially be looking at a game 3.
Looking forward to seeing what is going to happen here because it's a very different playstyle from both teams, right? It was an Ivern composition last time around for G2, not necessarily something that can be similar to many other things that you play. This one, a lot more straightforward, engage dive composition. We just want to kill you and we do not want to wait before we do so. And on FlyQuest's side, it's much more of this kite back, find opportunities to just settle in and go for the long fight that G2 Esports do not want to give them. I do like it because we've seen a lot of this where in game number 1 it's very clear identities and in game number 2 very different ones, showing the flexibility of these teams. Now it is time to head towards Summoner's Rift and hope that we get another 3-game series. Yesterday, 3 games and then 2. Today, maybe it's 2 games then 3. Wouldn't that be nice?
As long as it's consistent, right? As 5 games every single day. Well, it will lead up to a fantastic finals, which will be a best of 5 when we eventually get there. But as I'm looking at this, like we said, I feel as though G2 really got to have a chip on their shoulder after that first game. They were pretty heavily considered favorites coming into this series. Game 1, they had a couple of moments, mostly Broken Blade looking to really step up for his team and getting a lot of major plays. But I don't necessarily want to just be beating up on G2 if it's not Caps really living up to his name.
It's true, but let's do it. Let's dive under the rift for game number 2. G2 trying to get their revenge up against FlyQuest, who really did just take the bull by the horns in game number 1. Found that victory. Beautiful pan out here as Neon Strike Vi, my favorite skin on the Vi. Always a necessity, though, to toggle the glasses on. That is very important. I don't know whether Yike has done it yet, but I assume he will.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that. We'll get the observers on that. Now, the other major thing that I think is a very important discussion right here, Alice, is I have been hearing Wayla's alt chat now that APA is not in the Rift.
Yeah, no, it's not a thing that we're going to need to worry about until we head towards T1 versus TL. And
we'll see if
what's
T1
Faker going to say to APA?
Probably nothing. I don't think I've ever seen T1 or Faker in particular like alt chat ever in anything. So maybe we can get a little bit more out of that one. But right now, launching into this one, I'm going to be looking for Yike to potentially go towards the mid lane even earlier than what we were saying. We did see some very proactive play from him in game 1 on the Ivern. This is on the Vi. You get access to your ultimate at level 2 because you get Q and then the flash is already built into the champion. You can go for so many of these very strong engages. And already, Caps is trying to say, let's play a low health lane in the mid lane.
Yeah, Mickey actually getting some information here on Inspired as well, who is in his pajamas trying to take down the Sentinel. And now moving back here towards this bottom side as Marcio and Busio already in position. Hansama and Mickey X, I think, should have a fair bit of control in this lane as Caps stacks up that explosive charge. And Quad on the opposite side of the matchup this time around. We'll see how he's going to do. Because in game number 1, I felt like his navigation of the Tristana side was fantastic. See whether he's going to suffer the same fate into Caps or whether he's just going to be able to do the same thing once again on the other side. Yeah, just have to see.
You can win both sides of the matchup. That is a resounding play coming out from side of FlyQuest. A lot of it, like we did identify, came from Busio spending a lot of time, and now he's playing first hook.
Coming on through here is Mickey down to about 50%. FlyQuest, I think, like, almost getting surprised by the fact that they hit level 2 first. Almost weren't ready for it. But are still going to be able to connect that hook and do a fair bit of damage. As Broken Blade trying to deal with Whippo. Another hook going to connect here as Busio really up in this early game. Got his eye in after some difficult times on the Leona early on in game number 1, then having some fantastic solar flares as it went on. This is feeling a little bit better, the amount that he's being able to put together so far. A third one in a row going to land. And that is, like, if anything, a statement, right? Yes. That's like, I will hit you with this hook, and you must respect it.
And I think the one thing that I'm kind of looking at is, as you said, the first time that the hook actually landed, it felt as though it took Moscow a bit by surprise. We've seen a couple opportunities to try and land the root immediately after the initial crowd control, and fortunately they've both gone wide at this point. So it does feel as though these two players, maybe not on exactly the same page, but they're also starting to fall behind in terms of CS quite a bit as well. The wave is coming in now, so it will even out a little bit. But it does feel as though Busio and Mazu are winning some of the individual fights, but potentially losing the threat.
Perhaps. I'm also very curious about this top lane as well. We've seen both ends of the Udyr versus X spectrum. Yep. Udyr needs to be having a whole lot of control of the wave, I feel, and it's only been Keen that's been able to figure that one out. Now Inspired, looking to try and help Whippo get into that position. As walking behind the turret, there's the flash already. He's taking so much damage, though. That's going to be first blood, and maybe you just take it.
You end up just getting this trade, and you also get a massive freeze coming out for Whippo. He's not going to be able to hold this freeze super effectively, as Broken Blade will be teleporting back up to the top side, but it ends up being a fantastic play coming through for the top side for FlyQuest. We'll see how much more Whippo can actually get off of that, because he gets a little bit more CS. He'll be able to get that back off, and he will be able to teleport right on back to a perfect wave state.
Yeah, I mean, Broken Blade was able to just teleport back in, so not the end of the world type situation, but collecting just the Swifty boots off the back of that one. You see Whippo teleporting back in, and so, like you say, he's going to be able to even things out, and oftentimes it is, you know, Rumble's really wanting to take control. Same thing can be said for Udyr, and you can see Inspired getting that message, trying to make sure that it's his top laner that's going to be the most happy as Broken Blade now moving through the jungle. No flash is actually somewhat dangerous here. Of course, Whippo electing to take the Ghost. And his Udyr runs real fast, you know? Runs and slaps and runs and slaps and stuff like that.
Yeah, not going to be getting any flash bear slaps, unfortunately, with no flash from that champion, but could just run at Broken Blade.
Yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's going to grab that shield. There is the slap like we were talking about. And now Broken Blade kind of out of cooldowns here as he's looking to try and run away. We're both really just doing a good job. And I like this. This is looking like the aggressive version of the Udyr that we like to see as Masu. Lying in wait, looking for his opportunity to try and help out here as he's been unlocked from the lane. Ooh, moving around the alcove, but he's spotted on vision. Mickey moving up. Now FlyQuest just going to try and shove this one in, get themselves some tempo here towards this top lane.
Both junglers also potentially in the area. Inspired does showcase where he is, which means Yike is uncontested.
Feels like FlyQuest are a little bit too far up as they do get into the mist. They avoid the crash down, but that is still so much damage that they're taking. The flash out does come through here from Masu. The snare is decent, and Whippo just grabs himself a shield, and here we find Mickey. I don't know about that one, but he does get the shattering strike off. And now Piercing Darkness is coming through, and FlyQuest keep themselves alive, although they don't hold on to the flash from Masu.
And Inspired is here. He was able to get the Krugs, and he's trying to turn this fight around.
Yeah, they're trying to keep him interested. The equalizer is too good, though. And maybe just feeling a little bit like they could bite off more than they could chew here. The level 6 from the Rumble needing to be respected. There's an interesting Valkyrie here from Quad in the mid lane as he throws out the rocket, doesn't find caps, but still wins out on the trade. Hook comes in now onto Hansama. Busio doesn't have too much else to offer back. As Kangas is kind of losing his mind there, I think.
I would be too.
Like to do a bit of a check-in at some point, see what that one was all about.
But yeah. The fact that we do see Masu ending up going down there means he has as many deaths now as he did in the entire first game between these two teams. They were able to
doubled
take
his
down.
deaths?
Yeah, it's crazy. We gotta start looking at it. We'll take a look at the post-game breakdowns for all the KDA, but G2, they are taking a little bit more control of the top side, giving themselves a very small lead across the board, but FlyQuest are still going to be the ones who end up getting a couple more of these grubs, and look at that. Masu just crossing the first breakpoint with all the souls. He does grab his 20th one and still manages to find his way up top side, just leaving Busio to his own devices.
Yeah, Broken Blade going to be able to get underneath his turret. Will be just fine. Slight CS lead here for Whippo, and does actually have more minions to take, so that should be extending. Yike looking to come up and try and break this. As he's trying to back away, they get information that the Vi is going to be there. That's why there was the explosion of pings. Now everyone, we're going to get a repeat of the last situation. Yike was looking to get in range of Masu, but doesn't manage to do so. As G2 will just back away towards the river. FlyQuest just holding on as best they can here towards this top side, and actually holding off G2 from really punishing as Whippo gets further and further ahead. All right, Mickey coming down towards the mid lane, but Quad just able to exit stage left, and he should be fine. As Busio throwing out the depth charge, gets the cleanse from Hansama as well, and he'll just walk his way out. Feels like a bit of a drive-by from the Nautilus.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that people who are classic Busio fans know all about. Before he was playing in the LCS, he was well known for playing some very aggressive supports down in the bottom side of the map. He was well known for playing the Yasuo along things like the Senna, and now he's just going for some of these duels as well.
Well, he's able to do a fair bit of damage there towards Mickey X, who's a bit frustrated about the fact that Busio is allowed to farm and he is not. One of those center situations, down about 20 as far as the Nautilus versus the Varus situation is concerned, but center naturally makes a bit more money than a regular support, so you're probably thinking that things are absolutely fine. 300 gold the difference, approximately, between G2 and FlyQuest at this stage. And I think when you're the composition that has the Maokai, Senna, and the Corki and things like this, I think you're feeling pretty good about having a deficit of only this amount at this stage, and it seems to even be shrinking.
It seems like everything is going FlyQuest's way, except a couple of these small fights, right? We did see that Inspired gave away first blood, and then Masu stepped a little bit too close, a little bit after that. But FlyQuest, they're still doing a good job. Masu's moving around and staying on par with what we should be expecting with the souls that they will be picking up. The one thing that I do want to see a little bit more from Inspired is he's been going for a lot more dedicated farming, and while Yike is going for a lot of these ganks, Yike is still managing to stay abreast in terms of the amount of farm that he has been able to pick up, partly because he's consistently able to move around. He has enough priority coming out from camps that he's able to get all of his own farm at the same time, whereas Inspired, not necessarily looking for as many of these plays, but now potentially making me eat my words as he makes his way towards the top lane.
Yeah, looking like he's considering something. Broken Blade playing pretty defensively as he clears out vision, but then looking for that face check. Twisted Advance comes on through, Equalizer down, and Broken Blade's just walking on it, doing a whole bunch of work with that ultimate. But the Nature's Grasp coming on out, Whippo just standing in front of him. The flash comes in, Broken Blade down to about 3 health. Vault Breaker from Yike looked like he was trying to take down his teammate, but that is just going to be a real happy Braum and a happy Broken Blade there as well. Had to invest the flash, but he's happy to be alive.
Honestly, a fantastic equalizer. Like you said, just running along his own red carpet, making sure that if FlyQuest want to do any damage to him, they're taking a ton of damage in return. That just means that Whippo and Inspired have to walk away from that one, and the teleport comes out from Broken Blade. He's going to get all of this CS as well, and Yike even coming towards the top side, making sure that Whippo is going to have to go and complete that recall. But FlyQuest, at the same time, this gold lead, it stayed about the same spot for a long time. Uh-oh, Quad
Yeah, not sure about this one. Dawning Shadow comes down as Quad looks to get himself under the turret. He will do so. Inspired, can you get here in time to save your mid laner? The answer is yes, as they go too far. And FlyQuest take 2 under their turret. That was an insane teleport. But I guess Quad can say it was all planned.
I mean, that's exactly what we need to be seeing from FlyQuest. They find an opportunity to turn it on its head, and G2 going a little bit too close. And finally, FlyQuest, they not only have a gold lead, but they're also going to be getting another neutral objective as they are starting to look for this Ocean Dragon. FlyQuest, I mean, it looks like we've had so many of these opportunities where there is a 2v2 or a 3v2 going on at one time, and then some global ult comes out, turns things around, inspires it in exactly the right place. I can't wait to see it again.
Man, that was nutty. And just getting there in the nick of time as well. So they'll be able to secure the first dragon of the game. That's going to be an Ocean here for FlyQuest. As Whippo, this is what good Udyr looks like. He's behind the turret. He's just slapping minions, trying to take as much control as he can. As the equalizer is going to come down, that should band-aid the lane here for Broken Blade just a little bit, as Masu needs to be careful of these harpoons that are coming in. You can see Whippo there on the player cam as well. Very vocal. Feels like FlyQuest have G2 where they want them for now. See what G2's got to trade back here, because if it's back-to-back upset, like 2 zeros today,
oh, Hansama.
I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, depth charge comes down. There's the flash. The hook is perfectly placed. As Quad comes in, that's a lot of DPS available. But Busio, he's just gonna die. And Hansama, can he survive here as Quad's dead as well? So that's a 2-for-1 in favor of the young Varus underneath his turret. Hansama just saying thanks, I guess.
Yeah, that was just an overextension classically coming out from FlyQuest. They go underneath the turret. They don't have the means to take anything else. The turret ramps up damage so quickly, and FlyQuest, they're going to be giving over a couple of kills. They're also going to be giving over the Void Grumps. That's the 4th one going through, and now FlyQuest have to be very careful because it looks like it's not done.
Yeah, flash crash down. There's a Magnet Storm as well, as Inspired is just going to be put into the blender. Finds himself the twisted advance, and Yike will get taken down here by Masu, who's just underneath his turret, standing his ground. We had to get a bit of damage off towards Caps here, who's looking for that auto. There's the flash hook, gets the flash out of Caps. He did not want to try to risk buffering that one, as he does get to safety.
Really like that play coming through. That was one of my favorite examples of what I've always liked to call the wiggle. You see the 280 carries like, oh, step forward, oh, step back, step forward, step back, oh, breaking line of sight. This time, Masu able to get out of that one, but it is still a very even game of FlyQuest with a small lead. We were already saying that they should be very happy with a composition that will be scaling further on into the game, and the fact that the gold is so evenly distributed across both teams just makes it very, very equal. But now, FlyQuest, as they go in, I mean, the ultimate's there, the Chain of Corruption comes through, and Hansama just stands and delivers. He knows that he can just do damage to the Nautilus and then turn towards Quad, and I mean, that turret does a lot of damage at this point in the game. We see another one here in mid lane, and as the damage ramps up, I do have to give a lot of props to Inspired for getting every single one of those buttons off before he dies, because every single one needed to be used, or else Yike would have gotten out as well.
No, exactly. I was surprised that the Nature's Grasp even came through, as we're straight out of the replay into the fire here, as Caps and Mickey X in the mid lane. Root will connect, but otherwise not too much is going to happen. Piercing Darkness starting to ramp up that damage. Only a serrated Dirk there for Masu, but that is going to get more and more dangerous as this game goes on. We've seen some of these centers actually adopting the Edge of Night first build, where you just get to stand up and auto attack until they get rid of your shield.
Yeah.
Has been working out so far in the LCK. We'll see whether he decides to go for it or whether it's more of a traditional idea.
True. You don't want to do the opportunity anymore. That one did get nerfed pretty heavily.
Not so good anymore.
But he is already out mid-40s. Is that 45, I think it says, on the number of souls. Definitely well on track with what you're looking to be at this point in the game. And now we got to start looking at how teams are going to be playing around the Rift Herald. It's been up for about a minute. We have a minute and a half until the Cloud Dragon is going to be coming through. And FlyQuest, it looks like they are trying to get ready to play towards the top side. The Double Leandres is online. The Trinity Force is here for Quad as well. Feels like all of their power spikes are coming in at the perfect moment to actually go for some fights.
Yeah, and also able to get that mid control, as this Rift Herald is going to be considered as well. They don't decide to take that one down. They actually are looking towards this top lane, as It is going to be Caps taking that first turret of the game on the Tristana. They're not looking to stop as well as FlyQuest will answer, but first turret blood going on over to G2 will be able to help even out that gold advantage that FlyQuest had built for themselves. And now Blippo and Masu, I don't know whether they're going to have the easiest of times trying to defend here as they're just looking at the minion wave. That's what they're going to take down first, so explosive charge not going to be able to finish it off at all. So 50% health on the inner turret. So just going to be an outer in trade for each other, as Inspired will move on over and look to try and tussle with Shelly.
Yeah.
Get things done.
Quad, not going to get anything done there, but like you said, Shelly, the 1v1 with the Maokai will be coming through. Now, I do have to talk about it. I don't talk about items a lot, but the opportunity, got to be reading those patch notes, guys. It has so much less lethality now on the new patch for ranged champions than it was before. So maybe a little bit less damage than Masu was hoping to do off of this one, but still going to be building up all those souls. We'll still have plenty of towers going through, and 10 seconds left until the Dragon. FlyQuest will have the Rift Child available to them if they do want to try and find their way towards the mid lane. They are going to be teleporting members into the middle. So that is going to be Busio coming through. Quad can be here in just a moment as well, and it feels as though with all the gold on the right members, they should be looking to take this mid lane and potentially the Dragon as well.
Yeah, 3 members of FlyQuest here in the mid lane for now. We can see even Whippo just moving back towards the top side. He'll have that teleport at the ready. So now FlyQuest move in, but this is just it. There's no way that they're going to be able to contest that Dragon. Mountain Soul this game as well, which is kind of interesting. We're going to have Shelly go for a bit of a ride. Unfortunately, crashes straight into the wall, which is not really what they wanted. Now the Magna Storm is going to start off this fight for G2. The Dawning Shadow is trying to keep them alive, but Masu is just going to be taken out. Yike will be destroyed as well, though, so a 1-for-1 trade. And now Blippo, can you keep Inspired alive? The answer is no, and it's a double kill for the Rumble. Yeah, a little bit of missed driving there on the side of FlyQuest, and G2 knew exactly how to pilot their composition to win out on that team fight.
Great aggression coming through from G2. That's exactly what we were saying. They had so much proactive tools available. Quad still alive, though.
Yeah, he's able to Valkyrie his way out. That's going to be okay for the minute, as these minions will be taken out from underneath the turret. So not exactly destroying the gold leads or anything like that. There's 200 gold in it. It is still extraordinarily even, especially considering the fact that now it's 1 dragon apiece. Let's have a look at this one more time.
Yeah, this is a bit of an odd usage of Shelly. I think it looked like Busio made one decision and changed it, but I was very surprised here. FlyQuest went directly onto Masu, and now potentially looking for Broken Blade.
Yeah, they'll find him as well as Quad, like ships in the night will just wander past the Rumble. That was weird, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Now looking to just go back home as this outer turret in the mid lane is under fire. Inspired moving on over as Mickey X and Hans Sama were doing a fair bit of work, but there is a lot of wave clear actually.
Yeah.
As Mickey gets some deep vision and spots a couple of bad guys, and once again it's just players walking past one another, and Caps in the meantime is going to take the inner turret on the bottom side. It was a weird passage of play.
Yeah. It was very much just moving from one side of the map towards the other, but ultimately Caps, like we said, doing the quad impression, just finding these inner turrets on the opposite side of the map, just going to be getting that one in the bottom lane this time around. 2 effective kills going to Caps just for picking up that structure, and that is where potentially the largest gold lead of the game is actually going to be coming from, is the fact that that bottom lane turret does fall down. Well, there are still so many outer turrets on both sides of the map still available, as most of these fights have come from most of these kills have come from very explosive fights kind of out of nowhere from both sides of the map. We haven't necessarily been seeing the same kind of coordinated pushes from one side or the other.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing whether we will get just a 5v5 coming up, or whether it will still just remain a very messy game. I think G2, obviously very happy to play in the mud as far as this game is concerned. Their composition does very well, just locking down single targets and taking people out when they're unawares. FlyQuest wanting to set up for some of these neutrals. The Baron now on the map has just spawned. Very dangerous one to be taking down right now, but as the game goes on, I think that could be a place that FlyQuest looks to really start clamping down, trying to get things into the style of play that they're looking for, right?
Absolutely. Slow things down a little bit, right? We said that FlyQuest wanted to dirty the waters last time, but G2, like you said, frolicking in the mud in some of these last couple of fights. One of the things that we haven't necessarily been seeing FlyQuest do in this game is they haven't necessarily been using Maokai's saplings, the same kind of dominance that we've seen from versions of Maokai in the past, especially at this last Worlds, where you just got so much information all the time. We're not seeing FlyQuest creating opportunities to just move around these objectives and force G2 to walk their way through all of Maokai's children. And FlyQuest, I'm kind of curious when that switch is going to be flipped for them, because at some point you do have to dictate how the game is being played.
Yeah. And that Leandri's, like you were talking about, has been picked up here by Whippo, and you can see it mows down these minion waves, so he's able to defend against Caps decently well. But now Quad moving up towards the top side to try and protect Whippo. Dawning Shadow looking to try and save him as well, but it's not quite going to work out. The Nature's Grasp comes in, Quad is going to be taken out, and there's the Twisted Advance. Inspired, he's able to at least kill one, and now the Root's going to connect onto Mickey. Inspired's dead though, and it's still a one fight for G2 as they're also able to take down the turret.
A 3 for 2. Caps instantly looking at the turret saying, hey, there's a teleport coming there. We do not want that to complete. FlyQuest lose an extra member. I thought Yike going over the wall was potentially looking at the Baron. I was like, wow, that is aggressive, but not going to go for that one. It is just going to be another small gold lead, continuing to build up for G2 at this point. With 30 seconds left on the Baron, we do have another opportunity, and this is what I always like to look at for a second fight. What ultimates were used, what summoner spells were used, and frankly, almost everybody still has their flash. This is going to be a full power fight from both sides, with almost every ultimate and every summoner spell still available, meaning that we will really get to see how FlyQuest can potentially set this one up as Inspired books it towards the Dragon.
Yeah, 5 seconds to go. Dawning Shadow won't be there. But other than that, like you say, whole bunch of buttons ready to be pressed as Whippo will find Broken Blade for the minute, and he's not able to quite tank it as well as he used to as the Equalizer comes down, and there goes the Udyr. He runs around a whole lot, but other than that, it's hasn't been a whole lot of much as he just finds the barbecue and unfortunately puts his face on it. So now the first Mountain Drake going to be taken here by G2. Should be able to secure that very comfortably, but FlyQuest not going to give up without taking something themselves, and the depth charge going to come on through as well as Quad does a whole bunch of work. Now Caps, can he actually help grab this kill is the question. Is Mickey a little bit too far forward? Yike looking for an opportunity, but the Vault Breaker does not work, and he does get snared by Busio on his way past. This Nautilus playing beautifully, but now Masu is off on the wrong side, and Caps will just shoot him where he stands still. They're able to take down Broken Blade, and this fight is all over the place as Rocket Jump from Caps will get him underneath his inner turret. And is this an opportunity for a Baron?
I definitely think so at this point. FlyQuest is going to go directly over there. Yike is too low to really come over whatsoever. He'll try and jungle privilege his way back up to some reasonable HP. So it looks like Caps is just going to have to go for the mid lane turret here. And FlyQuest, like you said, a very chaotic fight, but they should be able to pick up this Baron buff, and we'll see what they can do with it.
I'm absolutely baffled, but now Yike is coming in. He's here at exactly the right time, but the saplings were there. And he gets the ward in, but that's just to watch the Baron go down as Mickey's going to get hooked. He's a little bit further forward than the rest of his team as Busio, he may have to be the sacrificial Big Daddy, and he will be taken down. Cap's going to grab yet another kill. 4-2 and 5 now on the Tristana, but a Baron surrounding FlyQuest. And Mickey... not a jungler anymore, is the Rel, but still going to be able to try and do battle for that one as the Teemo face comes up, and FlyQuest feeling pretty happy as we go back in time, Joshi, and this is the fight that FlyQuest found to get the Baron.
Yeah, Han Sama just a little bit too greedy for that one, and then everything starts looking up for FlyQuest for a little while. They're able to reestablish battle lines, and Masu runs away and is able to get away from Caps the first time. However, when the rest of his team starts going towards Broken Blade, he's like, wait a second, guys, you forgot your 80 carry. Caps did not forget the 80 carry whatsoever. Finds a couple of kills in that last one, but still, the Baron buff going over towards FlyQuest does set them up with enough tempo to try and get something. There are still outer turrets on the side of G2. You can go towards the bot lane and try and pick that up, because you know you need to get enough of a push going to set yourselves up to at least stop the stacking of Mountain Dragons.
Exactly. I think that they should have an opportunity to do so. Of course, the Baron will last until a minute on that timer for the Mountain Drake, so they should be able to get all of their waves in order, especially with the amount of wave clear that they have. So I like that you bring that up, and an opportunity here for FlyQuest to close that gold gap one more time. It's only 1,000. And I think that with the Baron, they should be able to definitely augment that with a few more doubloons. As okay, Yike comes on in. There is the cease and desist. His Equalizer is down as well, but Yike has now found himself somewhat overextended as he's inspired into the back line, and he's just going to run his way out. He might be in his pajamas, but they look like running clothes to me. As Bwipo on that inner turret, he might just come on over and look to try and take down Broken Blade. He gets the slap, and there's the twisted advance. The Bramble Smash is decent as the Dawning Shadow comes in, but the piercing arrow is so strong, and Busio goes for a buster shot right, and now Hans Sommer's just free hitting. Busio will be taken down. It's a double kill for the Varus, and it's I throw you catch here in this game.
And it's a negative Baron power play coming up from FlyQuest with so many members of G2 just barely getting out of that one alive. We saw the FlyQuest goes a little bit too far, and G2 starting to really look like a game that we saw yesterday from Team Liquid and Fnatic, as one team looks like they have a lead for a little while, then the other team immediately picks it back up, and now Quadamasu looking for Broken Blade.
Yeah, Broken Blade completely out of flash, and I think he's really dead. Yep.
Very dead.
I'm not a prophet, but I got that one right.
Atlas
as inner turret will be taken in mid and top lane, and I imagine that if I was Broken Blade, I would be saying Worth.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of turrets, a lot of gold getting picked up by the side of G2 just for that one kill. And with a minute left until his next Mountain Dragon actually spawns, we'll take another look at this last replay. Quad does a really good job creating a lot of space. The Equalizer not doing nearly as much damage as we would have wanted coming out for G2, but FlyQuest, they seem like they get out scot-free with almost all of that. However, they look for the re-engage, and I was very excited because it looked like the flamethrower is going the wrong direction, but Quad not able to do enough damage. We see Yike barely walk away from that one. Mickey also not taking the Frost Bomb on the backside of it. And with all of these members just walking out, it ends up being a terrifying situation. And when you see Whippo looking a little slender there, not having the tanky stats to actually come through here.
No, exactly, and I think that he was probably holding his head because he thought he'd set them up. And the dominoes just didn't fall down. They were kind of wobbling there a little bit, but G2 did not fall. And that could have been, like, it was a few, like, auto attacks away from it just being an absolute wipe. So very close there from FlyQuest, and of course they still have it in them. Let's see whether they can get it together and look for this next fight as the Dragon has spawned, and G2 right in position to collect themselves a soul point. FlyQuest moving towards an empty Baron pit at this point in time, not feeling like they have any right to be heading on over and contesting for that position.
A little bit surprised.
Yeah.
Right, that's what we were looking at with FlyQuest. We were saying, hey, they got really good setups. Turns out that Maokai saplings are a bit of a pain in the butt to try and walk through when you got to go through every single one of those brushes. But FlyQuest give it up. They had an opportunity to be there first. They choose not to. And now G2, I mean, this Tristana is very strong at this point. Is at level... It's level 16. Still got a little bit more range to build up from there, but 4 items already completed, and it feels as though Caps and Hans Sommer in perfect position to take control of this game and take us to a third game.
100%. This Varus, absolutely terrifying, but you're exactly right. Caps, 4 items on Tristana. We know exactly what she can do. We've been seeing it all day, and in fact, G2 bore the brunt of it in game number 1, something that was then given over to G2 after Quad opts into the other side of the matchup.
Yep, so the LEC fans right there.
Yeah.
Pointing it out, just making sure, hey, everybody does know what's going on, trying to find even more. This game looking like it could be very kind of waiting for this
very waiting.
Spawn. Yeah,
it's a very waiting game. And maybe that waiting will pay off. Or maybe no one wants to fight Caps. And so
I don't want to fight.
Whippo's going to go home.
Well, now we have to do a little bit more of that waiting. We said there's going to be a lot of it, but the Baron buff is going to be spawning here in about 20 seconds. And finally, we do have FlyQuest there first this time. Around 100 souls just being crossed here from Moss, who does have a ton of extra range. Has the rapid fire cannon as well. So we'll be able to do some good damage here to Hans, Sommer, and Caps throughout the course of these fights. But just as we were praising FlyQuest for their ability to set up for this Baron buff, they leave.
Yeah, so it's that little, the trade of vision here between the two teams. And the battle for mid lane control. We've been seeing this for many years.
Oh, Mickey. Okay.
Yeah, he's been going for plays, hasn't he? All game long. Might have an opportunity to do so once again here.
Yeah, it does get spotted out by that sapling. Hey, turns out that those are very good abilities. But we are also seeing Quad moving to the other side of the map, saying that Blip was having a bit of a tough time with the Western Go, as we do have a Baron getting actually started up.
Yeah, it is. And Caps is down here by himself, and this Baron is going down extraordinarily low. With Mickey looking for that turn, though. Caps is able to even take one down in the 1v. It's a double kill. He kills both of them. Never you mind. And now FlyQuest are being routed on the other side because, of course, it's a 4 versus 3. Busio now, yes, he's relatively tanky, but I don't think he's going to be able to survive this one. No inner turret to run to, and it's going to take Yike a while, but he'll just punch, and then he'll punch and he'll ask questions later in those Vi quotes and things like that as he misses the Vault Breaker, and things are looking a bit yakety sacks.
It's
and
out.
He just lets him leave.
I mean,
that was weird.
That's a little bit weird. Ultimately, the Baron will be going over. I need to see a replay of what happened in the bottom lane because I was looking at everything in the top side of the map, and that means that Caps walks away with a double kill in the 1v2. G2 have a Baron power play to bring us even further into this one. They have total control. Caps looking to complete his build. Han Sama very close to finishing out as well, and G2 just feels as though they are a little bit better coordinated around all these neutral objectives in this game. They have the Baron buff. They will be able to create space for themselves around the Mountain Dragon. They should be able to crack open the base here, and it feels as though we are on par for a 5th game of the day. We'll take another look at this one, and Caps get some damage down. That's a lot coming out from the explosive shot, and great job just dodging out of everything. Does he get another explosive? Yeah, he does, and it's the minions that are actually ones who take him down.
Oh, with the help of some Leandri's damage there from Whippo, but unfortunately, just wasn't quite enough there from FlyQuest, and Caps really demonstrating that he is, in fact, a raid boss. And as soon as he flashes one ability, the double kill comes in. So G2 now with Baron surrounding them. Caps now pushing in the top side of the map. They're going to have all waves shoved towards FlyQuest. Can FlyQuest find themselves a team fight to get them back into this one? 5,000 gold isn't end of the world, but it's getting closer as Busio really wants to get into depth charge range. Doesn't have flash, so won't be able to do so, as now it's Whippo that's in trouble on the bottom side, and the rest of G2, they're just relying on the Caps global taunt, and they'll just win the game. Yes, congratulations. The Tristana is dead. Are you happy to trade her for a Nexus? I don't think they are, as the Magnet Storm comes in. And Mickey, he'll be taken down. It looks like this defense may work out, but it's a Nexus turret that is going to be destroyed here, as G2 are potentially even looking for more.
I mean, honestly, that's just absolutely insane. The fact that Caps is able to stall them out for as long as they do means that you get the bottom lane inhibitor, you get the bottom lane Nexus turret, and you can even back away and start playing for this Mountain Dragon, because FlyQuest committed 2 teleports and 3 members towards the top side in order to just take down 1 player from the other side. This is so monumental of a lead coming through for G2 in this game. Already up 6,000 gold. The Mountain Soul really going to putting a stop to almost everything, and it might be the spot where Caps is going to be having to deal with 3 people at a time and still getting a triple kill in those spots.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many people are actually required to avoid anyone dying if they want to take down Caps. You raise a very good point there. 6,000 gold is the lead, but there are souls and then there are souls. And I think Mountain Soul in this case, when FlyQuest were running out of damage as it was, is feeling like one of those nails in the coffin towards the end of the building process of the coffin, you know?
Yeah, it's a very tough position if you are a FlyQuest fan in this game, but now G2, they're lining up for potentially the last fight of the game. It will be a 5-on-5, and here's a teleport from Broken Blade.
Yeah, looking to make his way in. That's going to hold on to that minion there, as well as Equalizer comes down as soon as he gets there, but FlyQuest have the help of the turret, and the hook is going to connect as well. Broken Blade able to go golden to try and keep himself alive, and Caps has already taken down Busio with the explosive charge as he makes his exit. Remember what had happened earlier on? If this was a cooking show, this is what we prepared earlier. That dead inhibitor means that G2 can then move on over, take this one out. FlyQuest are distracted by the super minions, looking to bear down on their 1 remaining Nexus turret. It's just brute force, but it works out here for G2 as they'll open yet another door.
Yeah, ultimately, there's just too much damage coming up from the side of G2. We said it at the very beginning. G2 had about 4 times as much damage coming out as the FlyQuest composition, and with Quad being the primary damage dealer coming out from FlyQuest, watch out in his replay. He is forced to Valkyrie backwards. He is forced to Valkyrie away from the fight. He's not able to do damage for most of it because the Equalizer coming down from Broken Blade means that Quad and Inspired are already out, and then it becomes a 5v3 briefly. Busio ends up dying, and that is enough of a health disadvantage across the entire team that G2 able to open up the base of FlyQuest even further.
And it's 6 items almost here completed for Han Sama. Just needs to grab himself a Zephyr, and he's a very, very happy Varus. just doing so much DPS as he's popping these blight stacks over and over again in the new and improved version of the Varus. As this ward does not survive for very long, but at least Whippo is able to run really fast, so should be able to escape Yike, who is still chasing. Just trying to tell FlyQuest that they're not allowed outside of their base.
Yeah. I mean, there's nowhere else for G2 to be at this point. Just got to continue to push them. And Quad.
Oh dear. Quad's going to get jump scared and destroyed.
All right, next challenger.
Yeah, Whippo turns up and he's like, oh, I'm going to run. And Udir's very good at that. Does have Ghost if he needs it. He does not, but he might use it now to try and join this fight. Masu just going to be eviscerated, and the wallets are getting real heavy. That is going to be the shutdown, so at least Hans Hammer is going to fall, but so is the Nexus turret. And Caps, he can decide to end the game if he would like to, but first, he has got some revenge to pick up from after game number 1. G2 now looking to even the scoreline here against FlyQuest in game number 2 and do it with style here a little bit as well, as G2 will take down the second Nexus of the series and bring us all tied up. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to take a short break. When we get back, the studio gonna break that one down.
Welcome back to the Esports World Cup presenting League of Legends. It's 1-1, all tied up here as G2 take down FlyQuest in game number 2. That was a true NA versus EU classic right there. Back and forth, slobber knocker until one of the teams decided they were going to take control, and it was the GOAT and the rest of his squad doing it right here as G2 take the victory. And now it is a sudden death. One team will move on to the semifinals and face Top Esports. The other one will be packing their bags on the nearest airport. And hopefully it's not that team, you know, with my NA bias. Welcome back, everyone. Degon alongside Ox and Wolf. Guys, that was crazy.
This game felt chaotic. This felt like both teams squared up and just headbutt each other, and whoever had the strongest skull won. And that ended up being G2. You know, Caps in particular has a very strong skull.
Yeah, I do think there were some decisions that were made by both squads that ended up backfiring. We did see a big focus on Broken Blade in the top lane. They really wanted to put this Rumble behind. I didn't hate the Udyr pick. We've seen it actually picked into the Rumble specifically a lot this year. And when Udyr first came back into the top lane, this was the matchup you saw it in most frequently, even after it got changed and was less common. And I feel like they did play around the Udyr pretty well. Unfortunately, there were some big mistakes as well. Like, we didn't see Masu ult when he hit level 6 in one of those fights, had a huge opportunity to get a kill there. You could really feel the tension of these two squads when it comes to how important this series is, this one best of 3.
Yeah, I also think we're seeing time and time again the Tristana just being such a powerful pick. We keep seeing Corki Tristana traded, and I feel like the Tristana is the better side of the matchup so often. It just scales so well. You know, I feel like we've had Tristana mid for such a long time, but this current iteration of AD carry items, she feels like so much stronger in the late game than she has before. Just an absolute monster, and Caps really managed to utilize that this game.
Yeah, 4 AP jungler bans on the side of G2. I was in the green room with Kangas, who was freaking out that we won game number 1, did FlyQuest. I threw a we in there. And we're just going through our list. Okay, we're kind of running out of AP junglers here. What do we got? The Maokai comes on through. Not a ton of AP damage there, given the fact that it felt like G2 knew exactly what FlyQuest wanted to do.
I feel like for me, when I watched the Maokai pick, I really liked it in terms of what it does into the dive, the big collapse. You had the Vi Tristana pushing through. Obviously, the Rumble can layer damage on top of that. I saw the pick as kind of more of a D-dive, like anti-dive, slow this down, re-engage type pick. But they constantly used it to try to find picks, try to barely reach out with the ultimate and catch somebody. And, you know, even listening to Joshi's kind of take on how they were going to be playing around this Maokai is kind of the opposite of how you'd see this play out in the LCK. So I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, we saw, I'm just going to say, the early mid-game was hectic. We just saw this series of plays where we had a lot of back and forths.
Yep, this one's Top Esports and Gen G.
Yeah, this is from the earlier series. Well, 369 was playing really well, so credit to him. I do want to, I guess, just reminding everyone how good that series went.
They're just doing the LCK trio up here, too.
Yeah, guys, you know.
Hey, you know, Gen G lost earlier, right, guys? Yeah, that's basically what.
T1's still in it. Okay.
We'll get the right replay up for you, but basically, early on in the game, very, very hectic team fights here.
Yeah, and it felt like there was this constant situation where fights were being forced and then subsequently backfiring. And this one actually ended up going pretty chaotically. You know, they're diving pretty deep for Hans Sama here. It starts to work out for FlyQuest initially, and there's just this really weird passage of play where, like, Yike goes in without having ultimate, and then Masu backs away.
Walks in again.
And then he walks in, he's like, oh, there's a Tristana there. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, I did check, you know, his stats. He's now 4-4 career on the Senna. You know, a pick he didn't seem very comfortable on here, but I think not necessarily a dig on him or his proficiency with the champion. But again, the tension in the series, you have all this momentum on your side. There were definitely some big mistakes made. The build, he went for IE as well. We were a little bit critical of how this one all shook out. Wasn't able to do that much damage this game.
Yeah, I also feel like when you have such a tanky front line, but your back line is like Senna Corki, they're not high DPS picks. Like, compared to the Tristana and the Varus, they will cut through anything in the late game, but it feels like you only really have burst with that composition, and especially when the enemy team gets Mountain Dragon stacked up and then a Soul, it becomes really hard to cut through.
Let's take a look at highlight number 3 here, as again, G2 taking control, but this time on the top side of the map. A nice little look here for FlyQuest to kick it off.
I mean, FlyQuest trying to get in here and pick the backline. It's a really nice wraparound. Obviously, the Dawning Shadow here is going to get insane value, but bigger than that is the Zhonya's here for Broken Blade. I think at this time an arm guard, but buying enough time for the turnaround here. And this is exactly what Ox is talking about. Look at how much damage Hans Sama is able to do. He's just going to rip through this Nihilist. There's no escape. There's no turnaround. There's not enough staying power in this composition for them to win it after such a great setup, such a great initiation. If they had a traditional AD carry with this comp in this game state, I think it looks a lot better for them.
Yeah, I feel like maybe if they had... I mean, it's the fact they didn't have the damage to this top lane, like Udyr wasn't doing that much damage, and then the Corki and the Senna. If you had like a different AD carry or like the Tristana instead of the Corki, I think all these things would have made those team fights just feel a bit better.
Yeah, and as we take a look at our final highlight of the game here in game number 2, this was just indicative of the type of play that we expect from Caps in a 1v2 Super Fed Tristana.
And Quad clearly is feeling desperate here because he Valkyries in like, I need a hell Whippo, and he actually takes the damage from the bomb that was stacked onto Whippo, which puts him into easy kill range for Caps. And while this fight is happening, they're trying to contest this Dragon 3v4. They've just lost that 2v1 on the bot side, and it just completely goes out of their control.
Yeah, really rough fight here around the Baron, and it's just all a big disaster. And I feel like there was a certain moment where they lost control of the map completely. The Udyr isn't able to pressure in sides, and then from those moments on, they're constantly trying to fish for setup, trying to fish for these Maokai setups, and it's just unfortunately not going to work out when you lose that 2v2 in the top lane, or bottom lane, excuse me, the side. They're already on the Baron, just kind of out of tools here, and I feel like FlyQuest absolutely could have won this game if they played the mid game a little bit cleaner. This third game feels like it's anyone's to take.
Absolutely. I mean, we can look at draft and say, okay, maybe you get an AP jungler a little bit earlier, or have a comp that has a little bit more AP damage somewhere in there. On the opposite side, G2 feel very comfortable. They've been in this position before. Will they be able to bounce back? We'll find out after this short break. Game number 3.
words you wanna say, I wouldn't use them against you unless I thought it'd be fun. So I sit at home alone in your t-shirt. I'm wondering where it went wrong when you...
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. EWC. I'm Atlas, joined by Joshi here as we look towards game number 3 between G2 and FlyQuest, and that is not something I was expecting to say, sir.
I was not expecting it either. I was expecting this to be a little bit faster, and the fact that FlyQuest had such a dominant game 1 and then game 2 also happened for them means that we are now in a position where we are looking at a third game between these two teams, and like you were saying before, the last game of day 2 of the Esports World Cup.
Exactly. The last game of the quarterfinals here as well. And G2 has to do it if we're going to have every region represented in the semis. And FlyQuest, they could add 50% freedom to the semifinals if they win. That would be absolutely crazy.
That would be the most semifinals in an international event that NA has had probably since like 2012.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It's definitely been a while. So looking forward to seeing what they're able to do here, whether it is going to be FlyQuest answering back or whether G2 have just found their stride, you know, found their form. And of course, this is a team that does just like to play a whole bunch of different things. And we'll see what it's going to be as we look towards the draft for game number 3. I'm wondering what's the pocket pick that's going to come out? What is it going to be?
Well, we might finally learn why Yike has been hovering in Nivea pretty much every single time we have seen him. But I have this sneaking suspicion that Whippo is going to bring something out that nobody was really expecting him to. And
like Udyr?
Oh man, well hopefully something a little bit more active than the Udyr. I would love to see something like maybe reprising a role as a Jax. It's not a champion that we have been seeing nearly as much these days, but is something that could create a lot of pressure off in the sideline.
As long as there's no Rumble, I'm psyched about it because I think that that's going to be first on the chopping block and was certainly a good idea to remove that in game number 1. And now with side selection, definitely a possibility. So the countdown has started, ladies and gentlemen. It is very close to the final game that we have here for day number 2.
All the
we'll have for you after this, the semifinals.
I want to do a countdown real quick. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Rumble ban.
In a brand ban. All right, well, Whippo is definitely not nearly as known for his Rumble as Broken Blade is. I feel as though Broken Blade has made a name for himself on the Rumble throughout his play on TSM in Europe and then back in Europe again. But we do see the Ivern ban coming through, and I really like taking that off the table because it's a champion that if you don't have a lot of experience playing against it, it can be really tough to adjust your expectations over the course of a single series.
I also think that if there's a player that's good at navigating Ivern, then you just want to get rid of it because it's very, very frustrating. So I agree with you. What the final ban is going to be interesting though, because we've got like, okay, we're just against trees. Fly do not want the trees to be involved today.
Well, there's no Rumble, so they can't have the type advantage going into the trees. You got to make sure.
No brand either.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
wow, that's a lot.
Being removed.
So, with all this already getting banned, we still have no real touching of the mid lane coming through, right? We don't have the Corki taken away. The Tristana is still available. We still have all the other counter picks towards the Corki at the same time. We oftentimes see that a lot of people will like the Corki or the Tristana, but some people play the Hui or the Aziri, even as Faker likes to do. And FlyQuest is saying, yeah, we'll take either side of that matchup, honestly. We're happy to play the Tristana, we're happy to play the Corki. It does not really matter. We will do either of them, and instead they will be going over towards the Leona, which has been Busio's most played in spring.
And it's also just really, really strong on this patch. I think it's a great first pick here, and she really has been climbing up the priority list rankings so far this tournament. So good to see it locked in. as Broken Blade going to make his decision, and like you were mentioning before, kind of a plethora of options when it comes to the mid lane, and the Tristana being the highest priority. I love this because we've seen so many Corkis picked, and then so many teams lose.
Yes.
So I actually think that prioritizing the Tristana makes a lot more sense, and that is what G2 are going to do here.
It definitely feels a little bit more comfortable for Caps, right? He's able to be a little bit more proactive. You have the crowd control coming out with the Buster Shot. You have the ability to just take down structures if nobody has been matching you, and that has been one of the major themes that we have been seeing so far at the Esports World Cup, is that Tristanas are being allowed to just sit inside lanes and hit structures with nobody really interfering with them.
It's true. And then another one that has been working out quite well also in the Braum, the answer to the Tristana. Didn't work, the Leona. Didn't work in game number 1. We'll see whether Mickey X is going to be able to make it happen this time without having to worry about a Tristana pushing the door out of position. That is definitely not what you want to see. As there is the Karthus being considered and locked away, so not going to be leaving Inspired's pick until the next round, making sure that they lock that one in. This could once again, though, be that dangerous position that we saw Gen G in, where the Karthus composition didn't quite have enough range in the neutral, and it didn't really work out.
Yeah.
So G2, they can try and play into that.
But one of the crucial differences is that this time it's not playing into the Ivern, right? We did see that just having a champion in the jungle who loved building supportive items with the redemption, just neutralizing a lot of the damage that the Karthus was doing, and also just making it very hard to land those Skittles, very difficult to counter poke anything that the Ivern was setting up, does mean that this Karthus is going to be a little bit more available. However, with the Ashe going over, we are once again seeing G2 having a pair of marksmen that are going to burn through anything later in the game with the amount of just raw DPS that they can put into targets.
Exactly. Looks like the Bandle City infiltration of Freljord on the side of G2. Do like to see it, as the next round of bans going to be targeting some 80 carries from Masu. I think that the Ezreal, definitely a well-deserved ban, well-deserved respect for the man as well, who did have such a good game in the first one. Still plenty of options, of course, but where are FlyQuest going to be considering? Because I imagine Broken Blade, someone they probably want to try and address, but still a few things to be looked at as Yikes champion pool comes under fire, as Lilia, first ban that we see for her here in this draft.
Yeah, I really like this Lilia ban as well. You're already looking at the double marks when you have to start looking at where you're going to be bringing the magic damage with no Rumble available up in the top side. There's not a lot of other options there that we are commonly seeing these days. The Lilia getting taken off the table. I'm actually kind of expecting something like a Nidalee ban, or I mean, the Maokai's already taken off the table. Just make sure that there is nothing that Yike can comfortably play, or really push him down towards that, you know, B or C tier junglers in order to try and find a lot of the magic damage that G2 is desperately needing.
Absolutely. And then they could possibly push Broken Blade towards something like a cannon or something like that on the top side if they're desperate for magic damage. But with the Rumble Band, of course, the premier magic damage dealer for the top lane, we're not going to have it. Mordekaiser comes to mind as well, that 369 certainly did extraordinarily well in our previous series. This one is a very different one. Twisted Fate, though, going to be taken away. Now, Han Sama, what's it going to be? What's going to be the lock-in as the Xin Zhao, the consideration?
I mean, it would make sense. It is a very common pick when there's not a lot of magic damage dealers left in the jungle. Xin Zhao oftentimes becomes one of these premier picks. I do not like the Ziggs. I don't expect it to come through, especially when you already have a Karthus. You really love having solo magic damage when it is a Karthus or a Ziggs. They both like being by themselves. And even to Xin Zhao, as somebody who has played a lot of games into Xin Zhao's, I love playing triple range compositions. You don't want to do that into that champion, but instead it is going to be FlyQuest saying, hey, we don't care. We can kill everybody else, and then the Xin Zhao will be the last one that we have to deal with at the end. So FlyQuest, a lot of range, but not a lot of easy ways to take down this very strong front line that has materialized.
Speaking of frontline, that is what FlyQuest are looking for now. The Renekton going to be locked in. That's a little bit more early game brawling power for Bwipo towards the top side. His blind pick choice into Broken Blade as well. I feel like it's a bit of a dangerous one, because there are a lot of options that you can take into it. That is Dr. Mundo.
Yes, I think that G2 absolutely have the better draft from this position. One, the Mundo has a pretty decent matchup into the Renekton up in the top lane. Two, Even though Mundo does not have the free magic resist built into his kit like he used to, there's not the same kind of just raw DPS coming out from the side of FlyQuest that G2 has access to. It means that it's going to be very difficult to take down this Mundo every single time one of these fights is actually going to start. And with the very limited crowd control that FlyQuest has access to, the passive for Broken Blade goes absolutely nuts. You can't use the stun from Whippo. You don't really want to use your stuns coming out from Busio on this character either. And so suddenly, it means that Broken Blade is just always going to be free to run havoc in the FlyQuest lines.
Mundo does what he pleases, is what you're saying.
This is where he goes.
And that is absolutely true. I really hope that it's going to be corporate Mundo as well. I cannot wait for those TPS reports to be on my desk by Monday. And I haven't seen Dr. Mundo in so incredibly long, outside of, you know, the game in the Baron Pit when you're just throwing cleavers at one another. But that's the only thing that I've seen. I really just haven't seen Dr. Mundo for many
corporate
years.
Mundo.
Yeah, and it has to be. It is, and obviously it has to be. There is only one skin for Mundo. Yeah. Did you know that? Like the other skins are actually disabled.
There's not actually even a base skin. It is just corporate. Now, one of my big things, one of my favorite stories is I have like an 80% win rate as Mundo in Clash just because I only ever pick it when it wins the game on the spot, and this one absolutely has the Joshi seal of approval. This is one of those games where it's like, oh yeah, this is a Mundo angle. We can just win this one off the bat, and we'll see how effectively Broken Blade can navigate it.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what Orcs is going to be like when Ziggs loses a game, if indeed you are correct, or whether once again we're going to have a bus ride consumed by Ziggs' conversation about how well he navigated this Mundo and wanting to run and throw cleavers at him and all this sort of stuff. But G2 definitely feeling like they have identified what a lot of the problems were for them and realizing what strengths need to be denied on the side of FlyQuest. Still, a lot of tools there, and we have seen that the Corki matchup into Tristana has been Tristana favored today, but yesterday wasn't necessarily the case, and it can certainly flip back and forth. Yeah. FlyQuest, the fact that they even won game one was way more than I was expecting from them. I'm just looking forward to seeing whether they can come out swinging here in game three.
I think the big thing that they're going to have to deal with is it does feel as though Caps woke up between games 1 and game 2, had a massive play there in the second game, and this time looking to carry the rest of his team into the semifinals.
Well, let's just see how it does go as we are onto the Rift for game number 3. Do or die for both FlyQuest and for G2. Let's look at that. He's got his little car and he's making his way out. One of those skins, like some of them, I get upset because I'm afraid of change. You know, I'm an old man. Like, for example, Junkyard Trundle, I was very, very upset when that got changed, even though it technically looks way better, but he lost his one pink Converse shoe, and that was really sad. This skin just got better.
It was already one of the best skins in the game, and now it just is fantastic. The car just coming through, just making sure he's already there. It would have to be one of the best cars in the League of Legends universe, right? You think he probably went up to Piltover, got all the arcade money, was able to spend it on that car, and this is the opportunity to showcase exactly how effective he can be by already creating a lot of pressure up in the top side. The big thing that I always look at with the Mundo is even though Renekton has a lot of pressure whenever he tries to jump onto you, you have a really good passive, right? The stun doesn't do the same kind of damage, and if anything bad happens, you just throw some briefcases at him, and there's nothing left to do.
Yep. And there's a lot of mini games as well. You know, of course, like you need to just stamp on the stuff. And I think, you know, Zach has very recently been in the meta, so it is something that our top laners aren't going to be too confused about. And of course, there is always that Mundo guy that you meet in solo queue. They're always there. They always remind you that Mundo can be just impossible to deal with. And I often wonder why we don't see it more here in pro play. Or I just don't think about Mundo because we haven't seen it in so incredibly long. As Inspired now moving towards the top side of the map, looking for some vertical jungling here, and Yike could be in a rough spot if he doesn't pick up on exactly what Inspired is doing here as he's looking to just take away a whole bunch of his stuff.
And G2 will be none the wiser for this one, right? They have the ward going down onto the Raptors on the far side of the map, but unfortunately for G2, it's very easy for Inspired to just not do that one. And so Inspired going to be clearing out some of these very high value camps. And bit of an interesting path, right? Skipping over the red buff, trying to make sure he does not get spotted in case Yike tries to clear things out relatively quickly, and in a perfect position to potentially go for a dive.
Yeah, Broken Blade actually already down relatively low. As Inspired getting into position, not exactly the tankiest, so the dive angle is a scary one, but Yike gonna realize that his stuff has been removed and is now going to head towards his red buff. That one's still there. The Krugs, unfortunately, have been taken away. Yep. So Inspired now back towards his blue side of the map. Will be able to take Gromp Wolves and then into his red side clear and find himself with a decent advantage as Broken Blade continuing to struggle here a little bit into Bwipo, and by a little bit I mean kind of a lot.
Yeah. I mean, the matchup does get better for Mundo with time. Right now, it is very tough. He is going to have to use a teleport to get back to land. But one of the small things that we did see is when Yike went over towards the red buff, we did see Quad throw down this ward right here. So Inspired will know when Yike does come in for these counter jungles, which he will very much need to do.
Well, gets that ward in just after Inspired is able to take down the Raptors. Mickey moving on up as well. Inspired just going to give up on the red buff. Not too worried about that one. Just going to make sure he continues the power farm. As Busio and Masu are going to have to leave, try and help out their jungler here. As Yike still on the red. We'll be able to secure that. So it is going to be a decent start for the Xin Zhao, actually, as all things do shake out. Quad down to 200 as Caps. He's the one putting on the pressure here in this lane now.
Yeah, Quad has to be very careful because they don't necessarily have full information of what was going on in the bottom half of their jungle. That's part of why he's leaning towards the top half of his lane, but Yike moves towards the top half of the map, and he's going to be able to equalize a lot of the early pressure that Inspired put through, and now Yike, ooh, I thought he might have gone for a flash. Wind becomes lightning there, but instead they will spot out Inspired, and that means that Yike just needs to push us in to deny some minions.
Yeah, Yike actually is coming on over very aggressively there as Inspired. Speaking of wind becoming lightning, he's going to be affected by that momentarily. Wall of Pain comes down to spot exactly where Yike is, and one Skittle going to be eaten. I'm wondering what flavor it was.
Looked blue, so it's probably one of those tropical ones as now.
Yeah, Yike is going to come down. Doesn't manage to take the Rift Scuttler, but is going to be able to at least audaciously charge, which was cool.
And it is going to be Yike going back and getting the second spawn of all these jungle camps. So Inspired is going to take the time to go towards the top side. This is a very large minion wave, and Broken Blade now has no passive, but no stun either for Bwipo, meaning that it's just going to be a contest here for the Krugs.
Yep. Inspired is going to have a whole bunch of friends, though, as the Wall of Pain not quite doing anything at all. Defile comes in. He has tried to flash away, and then he's just dead. That is First Blood going over to the Mundo, and that's what he read on the graphs that he was throwing around. He was like, I just have to weather the storm because First Blood's coming in.
Seemed like a bit of a miscommunication there between the top laner and the jungler for FlyQuest as Inspired goes over towards the Krug. It's like, yeah, I can go ahead and do this, but you knew where Yike was, you knew what was going on, and Bwipo not able to get there in time to support the jungler. Does give over that First Blood, and this is around the time where you start looking at the Mundo matchup becoming a lot better. Around level 6 is where Broken Blade can really start to have a bit more fun.
Well, Mike actually not going to find the wind becomes lightning there as Bwipo is just kind of a brick wall. Inspired's moving in here. Speaking of walls, it's going to go down, but that is double flashes away from one crocodile. That is evolutionary prowess right there as Caps and Quad continue to do battle.
Yeah. The fact that Bwipo really showcasing how wide he can really be in these games, really necessary in this third game of FlyQuest, want to continue their journey here at the Esports World Cup. But Busio running into Mickey here.
Yep, bit of portal combat. You love to see it. And it's not going to eventuate in too much at all because there is barely any damage between the two. But they will still do it.
I love the mechanics that you see between these two players, right, as they go back and forth, like that little bit of a wiggle, right? It's like, oh, am I going to hit you? Am I not going to hit you?
Would it matter if I hit you?
Would it matter? No, not really. But FlyQuest does pick up the 3 grubs on the first pass through here. And now,
like a good position. Yeah, exactly. Mickey trying to keep him interested. Yike, I think, has popcorn chickens on the mind, so he is going to move on over and collect that one. Meanwhile, everything kind of just evening out once again. First Blood, of course, over to G2. Bit of extra money there, but it's only spelt about a 300 gold advantage, despite it being 400 in the back pocket as far as that actual gold difference. FlyQuest actually doing a great job holding on to that lead that is mainly due to Inspired farming a little bit faster than that of Yike so far.
I mean, you kind of look across the board at where the money is, and it pretty much...
Oh, this wave state's doomed.
Oh, yeah. Especially now that everybody's coming up. But G2 should, if they really need to, they can push that one in. Mickey will be joining them. Yike will be coming up in just a moment as well. And, oh man, as this wave is getting ready to push out, Whippo is going to be allowed to shove it in if he wants to, with Yike removing himself from the situation.
Yep. So finally is going to be moving back towards Broken Blade. He was getting impatient there as Caps just auto-attacking. And that's working out very nicely. Some of these rockets actually connecting from quad, though. Not that big one, though, towards the end. And he'll be able to clear out the wave with the fast bomb and then look to go for a bit of a reset, perhaps, unless Caps is going to continue to relentlessly shove these waves in. 2v2, yeah, Arrow coming out of base here. And this is so dangerous. Arrow is going to connect. He kind of eats it with the slice there, which was pretty cool, but there is the kill going over to Broken Blade. Flash out from Busio, and the Requiem not really doing too much of anything at all. Wind becomes lightning. Busio gets under the turret, but they're looking to try and dive him anyway. Winter's Fight comes through, and that is the trade kill. Looking pretty fantastic there. Busio making the best out of a bad situation.
Really good stuff from Busio to turn that around, make sure to get it past it first, and Inspired will at least pick up something for the troubles. He did throughout the ultimate get a little bit of money from the assist and the first strike, but will also be grabbing this Hextech Dragon for FlyQuest. And so even though the kills are starting to go in the favor of G2, FlyQuest are keeping themselves in a pretty good position in terms of the neutral objectives. However, the one big thing that we're looking at is this Mundo suddenly has 3 kills all of a sudden, Atlas.
Yeah.
We are going to be seeing this this Mundo become so strong in these later game fights, and we already were saying Corki and the Ziggs, with the amount of burst that they do and not the same kind of DPS over the course of these long fights, this Mundo is going to be in heaven.
Yeah, it's going to need to be a lot of Leandries picked up from the magic damage dealers on FlyQuest, I think, if they want to have any chance of doing any damage whatsoever. Some bouncing bombs coming in here as Busio looks to try and get the stun down. Hansama looking to turn it as best he can. There's a Mega Inferno bomb, and the bouncing bomb going to be picked up. And Hansama is lying on the ground. He definitely does have a bit of a short fuse here, this Ziggs.
Yeah, I mean, the passive does end up coming through, but the biggest thing is Hansama blowing both the flash and the cleanse in that last one. Will be down for the grubs, will be down for the dragon when it does spawn. And so the little bit of extra gold going over to Masu could pay dividends again, as Quad has to be careful as Mickey running him down, but not a lot of support. Inspired is here first.
Yeah, it was sort of just Mickey. So thankfully Quad is able to get out of there. Inspired, like you were talking about, rotating over, but realizes there isn't too much danger. So FlyQuest actually moving back towards a slight gold advantage as this wave is gobbled up by the Crocodile. Broken Blade should be able to answer it. Still, G2 in just fine of a position. And the thing I am worried about is the critical mass angle of the Mundo.
Yeah.
Because when he gets there, you know, like you say, maybe that's just the whole story of the game, and jostling for position isn't going to be a thing we need to focus on, as Quad might need to focus as well, as he does Valkyrie away. He's going to be all right. So there's the Warmogs, going to be completed here for Broken Blade, as that health bar just got a whole lot thicker.
Yeah. It also makes the top lane very difficult for the Renekton to play, because normally you're like, well, I'm going to trade my cooldowns for your HP bar, and Broken Blade is like, great. Your Slice and Dice is on a longer cooldown than my Warmogs.
Hansama in a little bit of a rough position here. Masu not finding all of the bombs, but it doesn't matter because Inspired has this thing that goes around him that just does damage.
Yeah.
So the Ashe is dead.
One of the things that I have learned is that close does count in hand grenades, and Ziggs does have a lot of those, and now he's got some free time left alone with the bottom side turret. Now, good thing for G2, they did get a couple of the Void Grubs themselves, so no Twitch chatters coming out for FlyQuest to try and help them out to actually attack these turrets, but FlyQuest, this actually seems like one of their better games in terms of just creating pressure around the map, right? Pulling and pushing G2 into places where they want them to be. Take a look at this last play. I don't think there's a whole lot to really analyze here, Alice. Hansama, wrong place, wrong time. Ends up just getting hit by a lot of danger circles.
Yeah, that was he was in a minefield, like
Yep.
quite actually, and that would be my response as well. It's like, where do you want me to walk?
My bad. Yep.
Yeah, not a lot of options. So Broken Blade with his gigantic health bar is walking towards Whippo. It just doesn't have as many of those little blocks as you can see.
Yeah. I really love whenever Warmogs is like popular in the top lane and you're a champion that can build it, because you can do this and you just start mogging on people, right? You just walk up to them, you just stay directly out of range of them, and they have to watch you heal. And Busio coming around here, I don't think there's enough crowd control between these two to lock him down.
Well, see what can happen here as Bwipo is able to at least stop Broken Blade from being able to get too much value. Caps now getting a bit of a push on here towards the bottom side. Still about a minute and a half left on plates, and we'll see whether Caps is able to get any of those. Masu is going to have a whole bunch of bad guys in the lane. There's not going to be any minions to help out, as that satchel charge was beautiful. That's going to make Orcs very happy. Use it defensively, ladies and gentlemen. Don't use it aggressively.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned. And also don't position quite like that. As the Requiem's coming down, can anything happen here? No, not quite able to do enough damage just yet. Is Inspired. Does have the Blackfire Torch done, but it's not quite. Still, G2 are going to have to back away, and the Ziggs will survive.
Yeah, really good stuff, like you said, using that defensively. And now Busio looking to try and use things offensively, potentially looking for a dive, but Caps dissuades them.
Yeah.
Just enough damage in the explosive shot. Busio not going to be able to find anything there. But we do have another Dragon and the Rift Shell spawning in about 40 seconds. And Mickey X does not have a lot of HP to play with.
Yeah, and now Busio might be in the wrong spot. Still a lot of damage, and he does get one back. Make that two! And the Phosphorus one just before Caps dives in. Still he's able to get the Leona, but that's a great trade for FlyQuest.
Really good stuff. That's a also perfect opportunity to use the Satchel Charge aggressively. There's no threat to you whatsoever. And now FlyQuest find themselves a couple of kills, trying to build up the gold lead as Broken Blade does not care.
Maybe he needs to care a little bit more, but no, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just presses R and everything's A-okay. Yeah, look at that. Stock's really on the rise right now at Mundo Corp.
And we'll see the Warmogs come through as well. He will be full health in just a moment. We'll take another look at this last fight as Mickey throws out the Glacial Fissure, thinks that they have enough damage, knows that Masu's ult is down, and even though the arrow comes through and finds its way onto Busio, there's just so much damage coming out between Ziggs and Corki when you are able to just hit members by themselves. The burst comes through. These players are not yet tanky, and in fact, will likely never be.
Well, Busio now might once again find himself in a rough position, but maybe what we've learned is that that's exactly what makes him the happiest, because he presses W, becomes basically immortal, and buys enough time for the rest of his team to come on over. It's going to be the Drake, though, started up here by G2, looking to even the score on that front. They should be able to do it without FlyQuest moving on in, as they are at least hovering around the area, but no vision available, and a little bit too dangerous to try and face check.
And FlyQuest, while they do have to be worried about this Mundo, we have not yet seen the Doctor move anywhere out of the top lane. I guess that's just where he currently pleases to be, but
he has meetings.
And he does have a lot of important meetings with Bwipo. But the big thing that they do have going for them is they will be doing a lot of damage later on in the game, and without the same kind of access to a redemption that we saw from earlier today, Inspired is going to be doing a lot of damage every single time with these Requiems. I would love to see, you know, not necessarily going towards a lot of like magic penetration, but just going directly towards things like the Rabadons, so you can actually blow up these squishy members and force them back. You don't need to kill the entire team. You just need to kill or convince the other team that it is not worth the fight, and keeping them low is a great way to do that.
Now, Busio was on vision there momentarily as FlyQuest, all right, I think they're done with this. Mundo is just on the phone in the laning phase. It's just rude. And now Broken Blade could be in trouble. Let's see whether the Soul Flare is going to do enough. They have a fair bit of CC up here towards this top side, but they're going to need all of it. Wow. There he goes. Bwipo able to get his revenge. The arrow not quite positioned in the right spot. But Caps still able to grab that first turret of the game. G2 still utilizing the time necessary to take down Broken Blade.
And Caps at the same time, he's going to get a lot more damage onto the second structure as well. Yike is here to help them out. He's just going to be traded for that first kill and the top lane turret, as this sets up a perfect position. We've been seeing Tristanas consistently be uncontested in the side lane. Masu!
Yeah, that is Satchel Charge used just to try and get to the other side of the map a little bit faster, and that's going to require his flash to get out of the way. Inspired has spent a lot of time with Shelly, and that is going to cost them both their outer turret bottom lane, outer turret mid lane, and a little bit more. Still, they were able to get outer on the top side as well in response. Is okay, Bwipo looking for a bit of an angle, but they don't have the man advantage unless maybe the Requiem can try and turn that. Caps down relatively low, Bwipo out of cooldowns for the minute. And G2 looking to just back away. This game is neck and neck though, Joshi.
It is so close so far. We're seeing that the Rec Room not doing a whole lot of damage just quite yet, but we know that it's only a matter of time before Caps comes right back down here to finish what they started with that structure. They got a lot of vision control, and FlyQuest, Whippo does have the flash, but Caps wisely not going to be tempting fate in this one, but he doesn't see.
Yep, there's the Dominus, and he gets back around. That actually looked really cute there, Whippo, and he's a happy man, a bit of a giggle. The classic rock side to side from Whippo there as he pushes this minion wave towards the turret, and he'll go back home. It's a nice kill, 2-1-0 now, and he has Blade of the Ruined King on this Renekton to try and answer all of the health being built up by Broken Blade, but it helps him cut down a Tristana as well.
Oh, for sure. It does a lot as a melee champion. We'll take another look at this, and this is just a really good understanding of player psychology coming out from Bippo, right? Knowing that as soon as you actually see the rocket jump, he's just going to be on the other side of that wall. Like, that's why he's there. He wants to recall in that one spot. And you just need to get onto him one time, and he will not have the opportunity to react to anything.
Even had the Merc Treads, I believe, at the time as well. Still not able to get out of the way. And of course, rocket jump being on cooldown meant that his only option was to walk pretty slowly. And that doesn't quite work as Broken Blade making a call here in the brush. Doesn't quite have enough of an arm to throw that briefcase towards Whippo right there next to the wall.
We haven't talked about the fact there's a mountain dragon.
Oh, let's do that.
Soul coming into that one because you know who really likes bonus resistance?
Oh, God.
Mundo really likes some of that because look at these two items he's built. That is just straight HP. You add some more resistance to that, and he becomes
build, man.
So ridiculously tanky. It really is. He's going to be very difficult to take down. The burst coming through from the rest of FlyQuest. We were saying that we really want to see Leandri's Blackfire Torch is kind of in the same vein, but it's not necessarily going to be as much damage.
Broken Blade could be in trouble here as Whippo's still going aggressive. Still, he just walks real fast, presses R. Things should be all right. As he even took his jacket off. See that? That's why he's so much quicker. Not going to be hindered by that one. You don't have that much flexibility, you know, in a Blazer.
Absolutely. That's why whenever I go to a business meeting, I take my jacket off. I just need to be aerodynamic in case something ends up going wrong in all these plays. But Broken Blade does not need to back away now because Whippo used everything. That was the ultimate in order to try and get on top of Broken Blade. But now does have the tier 2 boots as well. Got the Heart Steel proc. And this is going to be one of the things that we will have to pay attention to is how much we'll actually see them as Caps jumps away.
That's the buffer on the Solar Flare. The flash forward from Busio doesn't quite do it though. And that is the value of Merc Treads, ladies and gentlemen. Tenacity is king. Arrow is gonna sail by. Whippo sees it. He does.
Says hello.
As you can see there, adjusts his hair, you know, because the arrow went by and he caught the breeze, and then he had to adjust the hair back again. Beautiful.
Starting up this Dragon FlyQuest, at least thinking about it, and Whip was like, I don't know what's going on over here at all, but that will be a first Mountain Dragon going over towards G2, making Broken Blade that much more difficult to take down, and the rest of the team also likes a little bit of armor metrics just as well. But G2, one of the things that we have been seeing is they've been a little bit better at picking up all of these objectives for free. That's how they were able to slowly build up advantages in the last game that we saw. And as we start looking into this one, again, I'm just waiting for Caps to be uncontested in one of these side lanes, as he is once again trying to find this low HP top lane turret.
Yeah, he's looking a little contested now with Busio in the area. Quad, though, not going to be overextending this time around. That is good news for us. Quad has been finding himself caught in a few more positions so far this series as Broken Blade getting cut down by Whippo once again. Let's see whether he can actually finish the job. The answer is probably not, and then Broken Blade spends some time standing still and then gets all of his health bar back, and then Whippo has to do it again, unless...
Yike.
Yeah, Yike is going to come in and ruin his day. Whippo does press the R button. Let's see what he can get done here. Yike is just dead. He is eaten by a crocodile, and now Broken Blade is also struggling. Has to flash away, and Hansama sinks his arrows in and is able to take him down. Now Quad taking matters into his own hands as well, and I don't know whether that was necessarily the right move as the Mega Inferno Bomb comes down and hits absolutely nothing. Busio does connect the Zenith Blade, but the flash out from Mickey is going to be able to get him to safety. Damn, Whippo's an absolute monster here in this top lane, but Still, I think that one works out for G2.
Yeah, just seeing the way that he's starting to build this means that he's doing so much damage to all of these individuals. He has a ton of burst, and unfortunately, the Crescent Guard only helps you against range champions. It does not give you the same kind of advantage going up against Whippo. And as we take another look at this, we'll get to see how Whippo just looks at Yike and says, what if this guy just wasn't around there? All that percent health damage coming through, the Requiem helping him out, and you know if Whippo got that next Q to come out just a moment faster, he will be able to take down the top laner as well. And unfortunately, Quad goes a little too aggressive, does not realize that there is in fact an Iceman just waiting around that corner, ends up going down, but the gold lead building up a little bit here for G2.
Yeah. I'm a bit perplexed. I like the gusto, I like the vibes from Quad, but I'm sure FlyQuest fans didn't really like the result of that particular play. Still, I think that FlyQuest are in a fine position at this point as we check out Broken Blade, just driving his sweet convertible towards that bottom side of the map. And when Renekton builds items like this, I feel like he's a whole lot more fun. Like, bruiser items are cool and all, and you do become that beefcake. You can be a pseudo frontline and stuff like that. But if you just have, like, full assassination, I'm going to murder my lane opponent type items.
What was that lethality item that gave you an extra dash called? Prowler's Claw.
Yeah,
Prowler's Claw Renekton is one of the funnest ways to play that champion of all time.
Almost as fun as Prowler's Claw Lee Sin, where you get to do all of those really fancy
great the animations
and stuff.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, just all the cool things that you could do with the Renekton. We'll see how much more Whippo can do in these games. With FlyQuest, they're continuing to send Quad, and Busio has been spending a lot of time around the top side of the map without necessarily finding a whole lot of opportunities to be aggressive. But Masu already got 2 items completed. Inspired has 2 items completed. We see Quad on to 2, and here's another member.
This is going to be very difficult for him to get out of, as he does have a door, but they were already in the house, unfortunately. Hansama taken down to about 50% as it's a decent Mega Inferno Bomb, and now FlyQuest should be able to get towards this outer turret and take that one down somewhat quickly, not even needing the satchel charge there for the execution as Hansama. Ooh, mini stun into the wall there as well. It is able to back away. Is this Requiem going to do enough is the question. No, it's not, but still, he's going to be out of the fight. Caps completes an Infinity Edge, but now he needs to get back into the battle to try and help out G2 as FlyQuest getting that turret puts them towards gold parity and gives them a decent opportunity to battle for this Drake that's coming up in 50 seconds, and they have to. Joshi, they've been giving away too many dragons.
Too many dragons. Can I also just point out how Quad just hooked that arrow for his jungler? That's the kind of mid laner you want. Even on the Corki, taking the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, taking the bullet for them, and now Whippo looking to try and make sure someone on G2 does not make it towards this dragon fight. Just kidding, he's going to be backing away. But like you're calling out, Inspired now with no Requiem is not going to be able to do the same kind of damage. However, Masu will have the Mega Inferno Bomb. There is still a lot of opportunities to layer that with Whippo's ultimate.
Ooh, nice sidestep there from Busio to avoid the briefcase. Inspired will be able to grab the red buff, but now moving towards that top side. FlyQuest, I think, need to focus on this one. 10 seconds till that dragon. They have so much zone control if they need it, as the door now put on cooldown here by FlyQuest before any fight has really broken out.
Where's Whippo going? He has an opportunity to run up towards this Tri-Brush, but he would get spotted by the wave. He has to move soon.
He's an assassin as well. As now Inspired, can you actually win the 50-50 on this one? Yike looking to try and lock that one down. There it is for FlyQuest, and now Whippo's found the backline. Caps possibly in trouble. The slices, the dices, it doesn't work because he's so squishy. Flash out from the Mega Inferno Bomb, and these health bars are so low. Where is the Requiem? There it is. Is it going to get the kills? There goes Yike. So he's able to take down one, but can they get the rest of these low health bars? That's the question. Quad, now's your time. You can flash in and grab them this time. It's Broken Blade. He's got a big old health bar. Is now out of flash as the teleport is coming in, and Caps, he has a full health bar and he just wants to play Mario on FlyQuest. Masu, he's going to be the first one to go down. And now Quad just dives on top of the Braum. Okay, that's an interesting maneuver. Broken Blade will come in and just hits him with his briefcase. And G2, I think, in the end, come out on top, but I'm not entirely sure.
There was a lot of kills. There might have been more than 10 kills and all of that with how quickly everybody was moving back and forth across the map. But like you said, G2 once again in control of the gold lead this time around. and we got to see how good Caps was at navigating that last fight, how good this Mundo is at just not dying in every single one of these interactions. Masu couldn't do anything against him, Quad couldn't do anything against him, and now G2 taking control of the top side of the map, and they're just going to be starting up the Baron.
It's a cute little ward over both sides of the wall. They have full information, but first we're going to check out this Dragon fight one more time.
Yeah.
We're going to need to focus on the picture-in-picture here as there's a teleport coming in, but this Baron is just going to be taken by G2. And FlyQuest now finding themselves closed in upon the... Karthus is nowhere near. Boostio realizing that he's not getting out as there's the Requiem to try and start this one off. Oh my goodness, Yike just explodes. And now Mickey, he's down to about 20% as well. Hansama's very, very low. Quad has been taken out though, and Whippo is not quite as tanky as other Renekton's, as we mentioned earlier. And Mega and... what? And now Inspired is going to take the Raptors. And FlyQuest, unfortunately, they lose out on the Baron. They lose out on Quad and Masu. And Whippo, unfortunately, popped like a balloon as well. And they're kind of falling apart at the seams.
Yeah, that ill-fated contest might be the last real opportunity that FlyQuest had to try and turn around this game. But like you said, Inspired nowhere nearby for that fight. That's going to be 2 inner turrets going down. That's going to be 2 inhibitor turrets also probably falling here, as Broken Blade has enough HP that he can just take this and not care whatsoever. Cap's going to take the top side at the same time, and 2 inhibitors going down out of nowhere. This game was so even for so long here, Alice, and suddenly G2 is in total control.
Yeah, that's a 6,000 gold Baron power play. That's a lot of gold.
That's a lot of gold.
That's my expert analysis there. That's a lot of gold for that play.
That's what we like to see, but we'll take another look at this one. We did see that FlyQuest, it looked pretty doomed for a little while. The Requiem comes in, then they just blow up Yike, which was very exciting. And I got really hopeful because I see Masu throw out this one bomb. It does hit Hansama, but Quad just instantly dies. And from this position, Inspired does not have an opportunity to come in at all. Masu throws the ill-fated Mega Inferno Bomb and then just slapped through the jungle.
Yeah, Maroka Blade, as we mentioned before, he goes where he pleases. He now has a Spirit Visage. It's a 4-item, lots and lots of health items, Mundo. And he's 6'2" and 6. He is extraordinarily big. Whippo going to be snagged by a volley. Mickey looks for the Glacial Fissure, gets on top of him, and the Crocodile is just going to be cut down.
That's the downside of playing this very aggressive style of Renekton. You do not have the HP to really do anything. You just get tagged once and you die. And now Broken Blade is saying, anyone around here whatsoever? They only have 1 place left to be on the map. They still have 40 seconds left of the Baron buff, and this should be all 3 inhibitors from FlyQuest falling. They have a lot of scaling, have a lot of damage, but they don't have the tools necessary to try and do anything here as Mickey just flashes over the wall.
Yeah, just flashing over the wall.
Recreationally.
Having a good time. He will get back towards the rest of his teammates. But like you say, this is just going to be the last inhibitor. There is a conga line of buffed up super minions making their way towards the nexus of FlyQuest. And even though game number 1 went so incredibly well, the fairy tale seems to be over for the North American squad as G2 will take down the nexus and keep their dreams and their key alive here at EWC, and FlyQuest, unfortunately, gonna have to go home. It does mean we have regional representation from everyone moving towards the semi-finals, and a huge congratulations here for G2.
Honestly, fantastic resiliency coming out from G2. Game 1, they didn't really have many interests into. Game 2, very, very back and forth. Game 3, we finally get to see them figuring it out all at the same time. Broken Blade having a fantastic series. We got to see his Gragas nearly get them opportunities to win the first game, and in game 3, the Mundo terrorizing the Rift.
And great to see the sportsmanship here. Big smile on the face of Whippo as he congratulates G2 for winning the series. Good to see fantastic sportsmanship from the man. He's gonna have to hand over his key. This is always the hardest time, always the hardest moment.
Yeah. Inspired does not look happy. It looks like there is definitely some moment during that last game where they feel as though they could identify one place where they could turn things around, but this does become one of those opportunities to see exactly how G2 feels about the rest of the tournament.
Exactly right, but now it is time for the interview, so let's throw it over to the stage.